Welcome everyone to another fun at-home table read. Tonight, we're going to tackle another unmade film, Plastic Man, written by the Wachowskis. Believe it or not, I heard this film was originally supposed to be directed by Steven Spielberg until the Wachowskis took it over in the 90s and then into the 2000s. But tonight we have a different cast taking over. I'm going to be reading action description for tonight, but as our lead, as O'Brien, as the Plastic Man himself, we've got Erik.
Excellent.
As Susan, we've got Mary Pats. Fantastic. As for her friend Poppy, we've got Angi. As Professor Argon, our villain of the piece, we have George. Fantastic. As, I believe, another scientist, Nebbleman, we have Hunter. And as Dr. Wertham, we've got Jeremy. Plastic Man by the Wachowskis. Written March 17th, 1995. Fade in. Interior cage. We are a lab mouse. Our world is a cage. The laboratory beyond the wire mesh has a sprawling limitlessness of a universe with dark, endless voids and immense technological instruments gleaming with celestial light. We can hear a woman's voice, though we can't understand what she is saying. There are several other lab mice in our cage. As the voice gets closer, there's a sense of mounting apprehension. We fight other mice, pushing it at the far corner. Suddenly, the world beyond the mesh is eclipsed by a woman. If we are not the mouse, we might think she was beautiful. She opens the cage and panic erupts. There is nowhere to hide as the hand reaches in and takes a hold of us. The cage seems to fall away as she lifts us. We can barely hear her voice over the blood pounding in our ears. She turns us over and we see an enormous hypodermic needle that she uses to inject us with a sapphire blue fluid. We're then placed into a small airtight tank. There is a small plexiglass window and several tiny holes. After a moment, we hear the hiss of valves opening. A milky fluid suddenly floods the chamber and we begin to feel nauseous, our vision blurring and distorting. As quickly as the fluid filled the tank, now it drains. A godlike hand again lifts us from the tank, but something is wrong because we slip through their fingers. The ground rushes up to meet us. When we hit, we bounce and bounce. Flip-flopping, the bounces become quicker and quicker, lower and lower until we are racing across the floor, free. We see the woman in her white lab coat screaming at her assistant as they try to corral us. We dodge, zipping across the floor, looking for a way out when we see it, set in a tile floor, a drain. The world swirls with us as we dash towards it, a dark hole widening as we dive through them, plunging headlong into the blackness, tumbling down the rabbit hole. After a long silent moment, we hear a man sneeze. Interior dime store. The darkness has become a curtain that is yanked open as the same man steps out talking to himself.
Hi, Susan. No. Hi, Susie.
We realize he has just stepped out of a photo booth. We do not see his face, moving with him, staying waist high as he waits for the photo strip.
Howdy, Susan. No. Hello there, Dr. Bray. No. Hello, Susan.
A smoldering octave lower.
Hello, Susan.
The green light flashes and a strip of black and white pictures drop into the gate. We descend past each picture of the man's face, framed tightly as if each panel were in a comic book. Each face seems like someone who has a secret or is trying to look very smart. Except for the last one, where it looks like he's about to sneeze. The man grabs the strip. Exterior, Susan Bright's brownstone, morning. An upscale neighborhood, brownstones and coffee houses.
Brownstones and
Dr. Susan Bright steps out of her door. She is a scientist that we saw in the opening scene. She's in a hurry, juggling a briefcase, an armful of books, and a cup of coffee and her keys as she heads for her car. She is bent for the car door as we glide up behind her.
Hello, Susan.
The voice hits her like a Heimlich maneuver.
Oh my God.
What God would that be?
She turns around and we see the man, Daniel Eel O'Brien, black leather activist. We cannot tell if he's dangerous or just trying to look dangerous.
Daniel?
What, no kiss? Not even for old time's sake?
She forces a smile and gives him a hug. His hand slips into her lab coat pocket and then away.
When did you...
Been out for 6 months now.
Really? What have you been doing?
You know, this and that.
She smiles.
Still chasing litterbugs?
His grin has an edge to it.
Somebody has to.
Same old Daniel.
Oh, no, not by a long shot. I may look like the old Daniel O'Brien, but on the inside, nothing is the same.
Is that so?
Oh, yeah. See, Susie, a man doesn't do the hard time and just pick up where he left off. Oh, no. The big house does things to a man.
The big house?
The big house.
Jesus, Daniel, it wasn't Rikers Island. It was a work camp for white-collar criminals.
A cage by any other name would still smell like sweaty, ugly men.
Sounds like the same O'Brien to her.
You know, I've been following your work on Argon Labs.
Her smile disappears.
I've been thinking about you a lot all these years locked up in the cell. I tear through every issue of the Midwest Science Journal, looking for your old findings, watching as you slowly worked your polymerization experiments up through single cell organisms to that holiest of holies, the fruitiest fly. Exciting stuff. I got to tell you, it really kept me going.
I guess I should be flattered.
I remember you said nanotechnology was going to change the world.
It already has.
I've read you're using it to repair cancer cells.
And for cleaning up oil spills.
Right, you predicted it.
He moves closer, eyes smoldering.
Do you ever wonder what happened to us, Susie?
It was a long time ago, Daniel. We were young, different people, heading in different directions. That is all.
She backs away.
Yeah.
Well, it was good to see you, Daniel, but I have to be going.
Sure. Can I ask you one more thing? You haven't published anything in a while. How come?
She shrugs, getting into her car.
Nothing really worthwhile.
That's what I thought.
She closes the door.
Be seeing you.
She watches him turn and walk away in the rearview mirror. She guns her car's engine and the sound rolls into the roar of smokestacks, gaseous flames burning into boot-black clouds. Exterior Calumet City, day. An industrial wasteland, towering smokestacks and warehouses of corrugated steel, factories and chemical plants built around the small lake that shimmers in the oily, iridescent sheen, while its shores churn a frothy green bile. One of the more distinct buildings in the skyline is black steel and blue glass flame is Argon Laboratories. It's heavily secured compound. There are two oblong buildings. One is the main lab building. The other is a chemical warehouse. There are two buildings that are connected, and a third structure rises in a steel-framed skeleton like a water tower. This is Argon Tower, and at the top of a two-story private manor, built beside a helicopter pad, is the twinkling glass conservatory. Interior, Argon's office. A pair of gleaming red patent leather stiletto-heeled shoes click delicately across the floor.
Icarus?
We follow the high heels through the office until we see the base of a statue and the name chiseled into the stone, Icarus Argon. We raise up 9 inches high, heroically proportioned statue and see Icarus Argon as he once was. A single halogen highlights the massive David-like physique. She crosses the sprawl of the office, and everywhere there are mementos marking the milestones of Argon's life. His face beams on framed magazine covers, People's Sexiest Man Alive and Time's Man of the Year. A 1989 Mr. Universe trophy is almost lost in a thicket of awards. The woman calls to the wheelchair-bound figure slouching across the black obelisk-like desk.
Icarus, I thought I would find you here.
She is Mrs. Poppy Argon, a stunning woman of cosmetic perfection and a body that might have been surgically cut from a comic book. She designs her own dresses made from Argon's rubber or PVC, usually red to match her collection of high-heeled shoes and boots.
You never came to bed.
He says nothing.
Have you been here all night?
She moves around and we get our first look at the new Icarus Argon.
How are you feeling today?
He's an unwrapped mummy, brown flesh draped over stringy cords of muscle like a wet paper bag. His eyes, hard white marble lines with red cracks, coldly stare up at her.
I feel like I felt yesterday,
She feels his forehead.
like rotting meat.
You're not rotting meat.
She lifts his arm.
Oh no? Smell this.
Icarus, please, if you want me to give you a bath, just say so.
No, I'm getting used to it.
She opens a manila folder, setting several sheets of paper on a tray in front of him.
Fine. I need your signature on this today.
He snatches a pen from her and begins signing everything she lays in front of him.
What about Dr. Bright?
Poppy sighs.
She's working as fast as she can, Icarus. It will be ready soon.
It's ready now. I know it is.
She says it's not.
She's lying. She lost the first one on purpose.
She did not. The mouse ran down the drain.
She let it escape because she wants me to die.
Don't be a child, Icarus. She is just another scientist like all scientists. She doesn't care about anything outside the world of her laboratory.
She gathers her papers back into the folder.
Right now, she is still concerned about the unstable molecular waste generated by the first experiment. I am sure that when she solves that problem, she'll be ready for the second test.
She pats him on the head.
Now, you be a good boy today and take your medicine, and Poppy will make you forget about everything tonight.
She blows him a kiss, wiggling her long, red-nailed fingers. Exterior main gate. Susan Bright's car rolls up to the main gate. Inside her car, she's searching for her security card key. The guard notices and steps out of the booth. He rolls down the window.
Something wrong, Dr. Bright?
I can't find my car key, my key card.
Not a problem. Just let us know if it's lost and we'll make a new one.
Thanks.
He returns to the booth and the gate arm waves up. Exterior Admiral Hotel Day. A poorly painted sign in the window reads, Transients Welcome. Interior Admiral Hotel. Close on Susan Bright's Argon IDs and has an X-Acto knife carefully cuts out the photo. O'Brien's hunched over, working diligently. The hotel room behind him is the kind of place where cheap would be a politically correct adjective. There are piles of nondescript scientific journals and reference texts everywhere. The walls around him are covered with clipped articles, and we repeatedly glimpse the words nanotechnology, molecular engineering, assemblers, and replicators. Using a color marker, he colors in one of the serious-looking black and white photos from the strip. There are 12 colors in a set of markers. As a result, looks somewhere between Warhol and Turner Vision. He compares it to the color photo of Susan. Shrugs. Good enough. Interior Susan Bright's lab. Susan is not listening. Her face is frozen as her mind somewhere else.
Without the nanobot, it appears there will be no way to stabilize the waste entirely. Even at sub-zero temperatures, it remains inactive.
Dr. Nigel Nebbleman is Susan's assistant, more nebbish than man.
I wonder if there is a way we could catch that mouse. Susan, are you listening to me?
She blinks.
Oh, what? I'm sorry, Nigel. I was just thinking.
About?
This morning, I saw someone I haven't seen in a long time.
A man?
Yeah, I knew him when I was still in school.
What did he want?
I'm not sure. That's the funny thing about him. He's the kind of guy you never know what he wants or what he might do to get it.
Exterior street. O'Brien is moving against the general flow of traffic on a crowded street. He notices a man in a business suit with a briefcase in one hand, a white styrofoam cup of coffee in the other. The man, apparently in a hurry, slugs down the rest of the coffee, crumbles the cup in his fist, and without a second thought, tosses the cup into a hedge.
Hey!
The suit walks right past him, oblivious to O'Brien's outrage. O'Brien looks at the cup and then at the man. A single word hisses from his lips.
Litterbug?
He rushes to the hedge and seizes hold of the cup, then whirls back, chasing after the bug.
Hey! Hey, you! Hey, Litterbug! Mr. Litterbug!
He grabs the bug by the shoulder and spins him around.
Excuse me, but I believe you dropped this.
The litterbug, a very large litterbug, laughs.
Yeah, so what?
So what? So what? For starters, how about littering is a crime?
Why don't you run off and find a cop? I'll wait right here.
Why don't you just put this in your pocket so when you see a garbage can, you can put it where it belongs?
Why don't you just shove it up your ass?
The litterbug starts to walk away, but O'Brien continues to dog him.
What is it with you litterbugs? Is it a terrorist thing? Is it a territorial thing? Marketing your turf with your garbage?
You better pushing me, pal.
I just want to know what goes on in the mind of a litterbug. What chemical is secreted by your smooth brain that tells you it's okay, just chuck it?
Look, asshole, I don't got time for this. If you got a problem, you better take care of it yourself.
Oh, no. No can do. You enjoyed a tasty beverage, and thus this receptacle becomes your responsibility. And I don't care if it's a styrofoam cup or an Exxon Valdez. You've got to learn to take responsibility.
And what are you going to do? Make me throw it out?
I'll do whatever I have to do.
Fists clench as they eye one another up and down until the Litterbug laughs again.
Jesus, you're crazy as cat shit. You win. Give me the damn cup.
Smiling, O'Brien starts to give him the cup.
Believe me, later on, you'll feel a lot better about this.
When suddenly the Litterbug seizes O'Brien's wrist, yanking him off of balance as he pops him square in the nose. A second blow to the gut doubles O'Brien over, and a briefcase in the back of the head drops him to the sidewalk.
Later on, you're going to feel a whole lot worse. Ha ha.
He kicks him in the gut.
Next time, mind your own business.
He walks away as O'Brien squeezes the styrofoam cup, cracking it in his fist.
No good stinking Litterbug.
Interior, Susan Bright's lab. Susan is talking to Nebbleman.
Do you remember about 5 years ago that incident in Purnell Labs?
Oh, yeah, they were working on molecular assemblers too, weren't they?
They tried using viral RNA as the bonding element.
That's right. CDC found out and closed them down.
Susan looks into the mouse cage as Nebbleman remembers the rest.
Yeah, somebody broke in and stole the samples, one of those animal rights groups, right? Remember now, they freed all the monkeys, which caused that huge pileup on the Massachusetts Turnpike, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't a group. It was one man.
That's the guy.
She nods.
And you think he knows what we're doing here?
She nods again.
Oh.
Exterior, main gate. A security guard slides through the gate box. The arm raises and Daniel O'Brien drives in, waving to the security man, who absently waves back. Interior security office. We slide through the frosted gate and out through the inverted windows, inverted letters spelling security. So you think this psycho-environmentalist character stole your security lab key to break into a lab? The head of Argon security is sitting behind an enormous desk is DT Sim, a little guy with something to prove. His silent partner is Dobby, an enormous man with a face like a mastiff.
It might be my paranoia, but I've never lost my key card before.
That paranoia is what separates the secured from the unsecured. He smiled, enjoying his own cleverness. Just a little saying we have in the security business, Dr. Bright. We get paid to be paranoid. Sorry, we worry so you don't have to. He lights a stogie. A lot of people think security is just a job. For me, it's a way of life. It's a state of mind. He blows a cloud of smoke in the air. If this nutcake did this and has half a brain, well, he'll use it right away before he could invalidate it.
Yes, that is what I was thinking.
In fact, would it be safe to say, based on the general knowledge of the character, he is already in the building?
Yes, he might be.
Interior Argon lab, close on colored ID that O'Brien forged clipped to the pocket of his lab coat. We notice that it is also inked in some dark glasses and a mustache. Smiling, nodding, he moves through the busy corridors with a sense of inconspicuous conspicuousness. Susan suddenly appears from around a corner, walking towards him as he turns. Something about a tall, mustachioed man catches her eye when...
Susan!
Nebbleman hurries to catch up.
What did security say? You'll have to speak up. I can't quite hear you.
They'll invalidate the key. Probably nothing.
Well, you got another problem.
The replicators?
Worse. Mrs. Argon wants to talk to you. She's waiting in the lab.
This day keeps going from bad to worse.
Interior, Susan Bright's lab. From inside the mouse cage, we can see Poppy looking down at us, her perfect red lips curling slightly into a sneer.
Vermin.
Can I help you, Miss Argon?
As Susan enters the lab, Nebbleman fades back and disappears.
I spoke to Dr. Argon this morning, and he remains frustrated over the loss of the original nanobot.
I'm aware of Dr. Argon's frustrations.
He believes that the second nanobot should be ready for testing by now.
Susan does not want to hear this now.
Dr. Argon is going to have to muster a little patience. I was rushed into testing the nanobot on the mouse, and now we're dealing with a toxic waste that has the potential to make 3 Mile Island look like spilled milk.
Susan stares daggers.
Under the circumstances, I can't fathom what Dr. Argon thinks we are ready for anything bigger. If CNN or hell, if the EPA knew what was in my basement.
Is that a threat, Dr. Bright?
Look, as I have said, I will continue to say, the instability of the assembler waste remains my priority.
While you remain on the staff at Argon Laboratories, your priorities will always be the same as Dr. Argon's priorities. I imagine that is a simple enough equation for a bright girl like you to figure out.
Poppy smiles. Susan suppresses the urge to smash her head into a microscope.
If you don't have any questions, I'll let you get back to doing your job.
Just one question. Since Dr. Argon no longer has feeling below his waist, how is it that you're still able to do your job?
Poppy glances up at the security camera in the far corner. She leans in close to Susan and whispers.
I could have you fired right now.
You won't. That's why you're whispering.
Poppy glares at her, then spins on her heels and leaves. Still fuming, Susan turns to a special computerized vault-like machine, which is the nanobot Freon containment system. At the top, there is a sealed plate that's connected to an electron microscope. She touches the plate almost lovingly, letting her anger drain away. Nebbleman skulks back in.
He wants another test?
She says nothing.
Bet he hasn't read a single report we've written on the waste problem.
I hope you're right. I feel a lot worse if he had read them and just didn't care.
What are you going to do?
What I've always done. As long as I'm the only one who can build the nanobot, I'm the only one who can say when it should be tested.
As they return to work, we rise up to an unblinking eye of a security camera. Interior security booth. The security booth is Sim's world. He is intimate with every detail of a small framed monitor. Hey, Dob, ever wonder how God feels looking down on us? Dobbie says nothing. Yeah, me neither. Exterior, Argon Labs day. The sun, a brilliant ball of lemon yellow, slowly begins to curdle, transmogrifying into a full moon, pale and winter blue against the night sky. Interior storage room, night. A dark room filled with barrels labeled explosive materials contains trinethylene, tritonatrylene, I'm going to say. The barrel lid cracks open. 2 eyes peek out. O'Brien unfolds himself, awkwardly climbing out of the empty barrel. Interior stairwell. O'Brien slithers up the stairs, clinging to every shadow. Interior hall. Like a ghost, he glides down the dark, empty halls, moving only when the surveillance cameras pan away. Interior, Susan Bright's office. The door hiccups and O'Brien slips inside. On his hands and knees, he crawls towards the center lab where the nanobot is stored. Again, we peer out through the wire mesh of the rat cage. O'Brien's head pops up in front of us.
Oh no, POWs.
He ducks down just as the camera sweeps overhead. He pops back up. Opening the cage, he frees all the little mice.
Never leave a man behind.
He grabs the last one, ducking under the arc of the camera. Interior security booth. There's a flash of white in the corner of Susan's lab. But did you see that? Dobby nods. Looked like a mouse. Interior, Susan Bright's lab. The cage is empty. O'Brien finds a security panel of the nanobot containment system. He sprinkles graphite dust on the keypad. When he blows the dust, 4 numbers remain covered. 1, 6, 8, 9. From his pocket, he pulls out a folded paper. It's filled with a list of all the numbers relevant to Susan's life, such as birthdays, phone numbers, and significant dates. His thumb stops at August 6th, 1991, birth of Nanobot.
Never good at remembering numbers, were you, Susie?
He types the date in the pressurized seal gasp. The plate rises, revealing a glass tube filled with sapphire blue liquid.
That's your baby, ain't it?
He's about to touch it when the lab door suddenly swings open. He ducks. Holding his breath, he waits. The room is silent. Slowly, quietly, he peeks out. A flashlight blinks near him, and he ducks back down. He hears a whisper. Panicking, he starts to creep towards the door when the beam of light suddenly pools around him. Look what we've caught here. O'Brien can't see because of the light in his eyes. One big mother of a mouse. O'Brien bolts, running straight into Dobby's chest. A huge fist hammers down on the top of his skull as his eyes roll up into his head. Fade to black. Fade in on a nightmare. Trapped beneath searing laboratory overhead lights, Argon's hideous face hovers over us. a cracked, lipless smile revealing ulcerous gums and stained teeth.
I've been waiting for something like this my whole life.
The voice warps through the watery space.
Bad boy got caught with something. Got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
The faces float over O'Brien like disembodied heads. You should have stayed in jail, pal. Argon grips O'Brien's head under his chin, poised between his fingers and the gleaming stainless steel hypodermic needle.
For every environmentalist, anti-industrial, animal activist that has shoved their myopic projectionist cause of the month crap down my throat, I shove this down yours.
He sticks the needle into O'Brien's neck. O'Brien's eyes flutter and the voices and faces stretch away. Argon's thumb depresses the plunger.
You sure you know what you're doing, Ihi?
Inside the hypo, blood blossoms all around us as the sapphire blue liquid containing the nanobots is injected into O'Brien. We rush with blurred speed into his bloodstream as we see the nanobot, a microbiotic machine that resembles a snowflake. As it bounces from protein cell to cell, falling away from us, it begins to blur as what we hear sounds like music. The shape focus begins again as we realize we are now looking down into the aisle of a grocery store. The two parts of the nanobot become O'Brien and Susan, joined together by a grocery cart they're pushing. Interior flashback of grocery store. It's the 1970s. O'Brien is a granola hippie activist type, extra crunchy. Susan still loves Oreo cookies.
Nanotechnology is going to change the world, Danny. I'm telling you, in 10 years, maybe 20 years, life is going to be totally new kind of experience.
O'Brien is not listening, repulsed by the stock lining the shelves.
And what I love about molecular science is the way it revolutionizes how we have to think and unifies the entire world on a single level. Everything is completely connected. Sometimes I can really feel it. Everything around us, just a small part of a whole. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. What does that mean?
We'll see how wonderful it is after you spend the next 20 years making Agent Orange.
God, Daniel, I'm not going to make Agent Orange.
You think the chemists that invented Agent Orange 20 years ago were in school saying, boy, I really got some good ideas for the highly toxic incendiary defoliant. I was like, you think Oppenheimer was dreaming about mushroom clouds before the war?
She tries to ignore him.
We've had this conversation already, Daniel.
All I'm saying is that the companies that have money for the kind of research you're interested in have money because that's what they're interested in. Money.
She stops the cart.
I'm sorry I brought this whole thing up. If you're going to flip your wig.
I can't help it, Suze. It's this place, you know, how I get in these stores. They freak me out. All these tiny boxes, little cans filled with 8-syllable God knows what.
He grabs a can of Spam.
I mean, look at this. They've taken all the food out of food. Like when we start talking about the future, this is what I see. Huge vats of Spam. You are what you eat, and they're turning it into Spam people.
He shoves the can back into the shelf.
Like, you think it's a coincidence that they have all these aisles lined up like this, like a little maze? We're all lab rats through the maze, pulling lever A or lever B, each designed to create some kind of biochemistry dependency. All the while, they're everywhere, watching us two-way mirrors, surveillance cameras nodding to each other, making little notes.
You're insane.
Am I? Look, right here. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
A little boy is trying to get a box of Trick cereal from a shelf that's too high.
Lever A?
He jumps several times, unable to grab the economy-sized box. O'Brien walks over to him.
Daniel, don't. Oh, no.
The tips of the kid's fingers are slowly coaxing the box from the ledge.
Let me help you, kid.
The kid's face widens into a smile until O'Brien pushes the box back.
Hey!
You don't want this.
Yeah, I do.
You have no idea what this is doing to your body.
I like tricks.
Daniel, give him the tricks.
Susan, this is the future of America here.
Tricks are for kids.
O'Brien grabs a box of shredded wheat.
Here, kid. This is great stuff. Why don't you give it a try?
I want tricks. Mommy!
The boy's wail swells unnaturally loud as we rise up, distorting as it becomes the pressurization of a test tank. Interior test tank. O'Brien jerks awake. He's inside a dark steel capsule. There's a wet sucking noise as the hoses are open and the white assembler fluid begins pumping into the tank.
Bobby!
Interior lab. Argon watches the gauges climbing into the tanks with a mad gleam in his eye. Poppy stares at the computer, flickering through the model simulation.
Icky, this is so exciting.
Sim looks a bit nervous. How long do we leave him in there?
Until he's done.
He laughs until the tank shivers. The whole unit is now sizzling hot. A coolant line bursts. Each of them backs away as the tank vibrates under mounting pressure like a water balloon that's ready to burst.
Icky?
The tank explodes, splitting open like a can of whipped cream. We see the world through the eyes of O'Brien as he rises up through the burbling marshmallow immunion. Everything has a sense of unnatural viscosity, as if reality has been remade with molasses. The room curves and warps, our eyes like carnival mirrors. We see distorted Argon staring at us in awe.
My God, it works.
Now we see O'Brien. He has been completely polymerized, his entire body shifting and flowing like a drunken wave machine. The rubbery flesh of his face looks too heavy, hanging slack. His eyes bulge and lull as he tries to focus.
Grab him. Hurry. Grab him.
Dobby is the closest and he grabs O'Brien's arm. O'Brien reacts, yanking his arm, which thins to a strand of spaghetti and whips free. O'Brien stumbles backwards, quivering like a jello slinky until his bare foot, which seems more like a puddle than a foot, lands on the main floor drain. His leg slips immediately through the sieve as he slips down to the floor, one leg sprawling out in front of him. He blinks, then the rest of him falls through. Sim grabs the pile of clothes covering the drain, but Daniel O'Brien is gone. From below the drain, we look up at Argon and the others staring down. That's impossible.
It's a miracle.
It's an organic polymerization.
Beneath the tank core continues to melt down, gelatinous waste splattering the room.
Icky, what's happening?
Who cares? We've got to find him. Hurry.
His chair heads for the door. Interior storm drain. A 6-inch pipe opening groans at the sound of stretching rubber. Fingers suddenly reach out and grab the edge of the hole. There's a series of cartoon-like sounds as O'Brien pulls himself out, emerging from the opening like toothpaste. After a struggle, he pops free, snapping into human proportions. Cradling his head, he stands up on the corrugated metal drain. Unsure of what happened or why he's naked, he stumbles out onto the creek, his bare feet squishing into the muddy water. Exterior Argon Labs. The moon throbs overhead in the sky as of dark crushed velvet. Sim and Dobby's flashlight beams dart and bounce as they sweep the compound. They find the drain pipe and Sim throws his beam down on it, careful not to get his shoes muddy. Oh, for the love of God, I'm not going down there. He looks at Dobby. You check it out. Interior elevator. Dobby and Argon ride up in the elevator that connects the main lab to Argon Tower.
It works, Poppy. It works. It works.
Now, Icky, I don't need you winding yourself up. I need you focused and in control.
Poppy, you don't know what this means.
You don't either. We don't know anything until we find that guy and find out if he's alive or what.
Yes, that's true. We have to find him, run tests, determine if the polymerization is stable.
In the meantime, we're going to need someone to deal with this mess in the lab. I don't think we should call Dr. Wright.
Oh, no. No, we'll get her assistant. What's his name? Nebbleman.
Nebbleman.
Interior main lab. Nigel Nebbleman enters the building. He's wearing a raincoat over his pajamas that are covered in small bunny rabbits. Poppy is waiting for him.
Dr. Nebbleman, thank God you're here.
In her high heels, she's taller than him when they embrace. His head lays against her ample bosom.
I've been nearly hysterical with fright. Thank God you came. I feel so much better now that you're here.
What happened?
Poppy leads him to the stairwell.
As I told you on the phone, there's been an accident. A terrible accident.
Interior Susan Bright's lab. We hear Nebbleman's voice crack with panic as he rushes towards the double doors of the lab.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
The moment he bursts in and sees the ruptured test tank melting with white mucus and the assembler waste, he faints.
Great.
Interior Argon's office. Nebbleman lifts his head from the paper bag he's breathing into. Panic is cracking his voice.
Okay. Alright. Okie dokie. Now, we need the nanobot that initiated the reaction. Once we have that, we can stabilize the meltdown. Simple, no problem.
The nanobot is gone.
Nebbleman's voice rises several octaves.
God! What do you mean, God? We're going to
His knees buckle as Argon does not answer.
Dr. Nebbleman, we are scientists. You and I and men of science are not concerned with emotions and opinions. We are concerned with facts.
Nebbleman is hyperventilating like a mouse caught in a glue trap.
Fact is that the milk has been spilled, and now we need you to tell us how to clean it up.
Cleaned up? Cleaned up? It can't be cleaned up. Without the nanobot, the waste can't be stabilized. That's what we've been trying to tell you. The only thing we can do is run. Run! Run!
Argon signals to Poppy. Poppy slaps Nebbleman. Nebbleman is quiet.
Facts, Dr. Nebbleman, facts. You've been using cryogenics to control the waste from the mouse experiment, haven't you?
Well, yes. The replicators are not as active at low temperatures.
Then perhaps we can use liquid nitrogen to keep the meltdown under control.
That might work.
Poppy, order the trucks from the Gary plant, and we're going to need a containment crew.
A containment crew is going to attract a lot of attention.
You're right. Place a call to our friends at the network and to Mr. Joplin at the EPA.
How did this happen? How did the nanobot activate the assembler fluid? If I'm going to help, I have to know what happened.
Argon studies Nebbleman for a moment.
All right, Dr. Nebbleman. Come with me and I'll tell you everything.
Motoring his chair around, Argon leads Nigel to the conservatory. The elevator slides open, and Sim gets out leading a muddy Dobby.
Mr. Sim, did you find him?
Sim has O'Brien's wad of clothes tucked under his arm. No, but if he's alive, I think I know where he might go. He holds up the key to O'Brien's hotel room, the plastic keychain stamped Admiral Hotel. Interior Admiral Hotel, night. A muddy bare footprint, black grime against green shag. We pull back and see another, then another, the tracks leading towards the white light of the bathroom door. We close in on a bilious white of steam, the warble of O'Brien whimpering and shivering even in the scalding water. He begins to sneeze and cough as if something were tickling the back of his throat. He snorts at it, inhaling through his nose, trying to suck it out. Finally, he spits a clear silicone-like wad of phlegm that remains connected to his mouth by a long rubbery strand. He spits at it and it stretches until he flicks it off with his hand. It hangs on the wall for a moment, like sticky rubber slug that has been swept down a tub drain. Interior Susan Bright's lab. We rise through the floor drain. Wearing special insulated containment suit, Nebbleman is on his hands and knees examining the lab floor. He lifts a hand and we see an impression that gradually fades as if the ground were a sheet of foam. He slaps it hard and the tile ripples like a waterbed.
Oh, God. It's worse than I thought.
He runs for the door, leaving a trail of footprints.
Get that crew in here now.
Exterior Argon lab night. Outside the lab, a flurry of activity erupts. Thick hoses are attached to the belly of a giant tanker truck. Brilliant portable Klieg's illuminate the ground like a ballpark. Men with bulbous insulated spacesuits milk the tankers, filling with scuba-like canisters that are worn on their backs. The bold letters on the back of the tanker reads, "Warning, liquid nitrogen." Slowly, we move towards the O in nitrogen. It opens in front of us like a yawning tunnel, which, as we descend into the Admiral Hotel room day. O'Brien is in a deep sleep, mouth wide open, his breathing rasped. Turning his face deeper into the pillow, he is suddenly unable to breathe. He sucks air for a strained gurgle. His eyes pop open, still suffocating as he bolts upright. We see that his neck has been twisted around like a knotted sheet. His head spins around and then snaps back into place.
Mommy?
He's dizzy and confused. He rubs his head and neck, panic seeping into his expression as he begins to remember last night's events. He looks down, seeing the muddy footprints on the carpet. O'Brien touches his neck where he was injected.
Uh-oh.
Suddenly, the door whaps open, Sim and Dobby filling the frame. "Good evening, Mr. O'Brien." Still in his underwear, O'Brien jumps from the bed.
You! I remember you!
"I'm real touched. Now get your Sunday on. We're going for a ride." He throws O'Brien's pants at him.
What? I'm not going anywhere.
"Oh, yes, you are."
I get it. You're the goon fetch boy the zookeeper Argon calls in when one of his guinea pigs gets loose, huh?
"That's right." Sim opens his coat, showing O'Brien his firearm. Only this ain't no tranquilizer gun. Now let's go.
Forget it, piss boy. You tell Argon he can call my lawyer.
Sim reaches for his gun. Yeah, the hard way it is. O'Brien heaves the yellow pages at Sim that sails past his head. He leaps up towards the coffee table. Sims points the gun at O'Brien's head. Not smart. You forgot I've got a gun. O'Brien on his toes keeps the table between him and Sim.
Then let's see you use it, bucko. Dr. Argon's not going to take it very well that you killed his experiment, huh?
Sim snorts. Okay. Dobby. He waves Dobby on the other side of the table. But before they can grab him, O'Brien spins away from Sim and bolts for the window. He throws it open, yelling.
Help! Somebody help me!
Sim and Dobby tackle him from behind. I'll take care of him. Hold him. Sim raises the gun high into the air. Lights out. And he brings it down on O'Brien's head. But it rebounds off of O'Brien's skull, which in turn rebounds off of the floor.
Ow!
Sim raises it again. I said, lights out. And again, smashes O'Brien in the head with no effect.
Ouch! Cut it out!
Sim looks to the gun repeatedly, brings a hail of blows onto O'Brien, whose head bounces off of the gun and onto the floor like a dribbling basketball. O'Brien grabs his head as Sim tires.
Jesus!
Panting, Sim holsters his gun. Get his legs. O'Brien lunges, grabbing for the windowsill as the two men each take a leg.
No!
They heave at his legs, trying to wrench him from the sill. O'Brien's body rises off the floor. Struggling and straining with all of his might, O'Brien looks up to secure his grip when his eyes go wide. O'Brien's arms have begun to stretch. He looks back over his shoulder to see his legs have also begun to stretch. Sim and Dobby seem to notice at the same time that they have stretched O'Brien halfway to the door. Holy shit. The two men let go of O'Brien's legs and he is flung out like a slingshot out of the room. Holy shit! He cartwheels into space outside of the window, splaying and flailing spastically. The people 9 floors down scream as O'Brien plummets towards them. O'Brien's tearing eyes clamp shut in the face of onrushing pavement, the faint sound caught in his ear, an ascending twang like a tightening guitar string. Whump! O'Brien hits the ground, unsure if he's alive or dead. The woman screams. He rattles his head and opens his eyes. There's a woman in front of him, her face buried in her hands. O'Brien tries to stand.
Oh, God. Am I dead?
Hearing him, the woman peers out from shielding fingers. She looks up at his arms and screams again. O'Brien is confused. Slowly, he turns, following her gaze up, up, up. His arms stretched up to the 9th-story window like a safety line, his hand gripping the windowsill. His face contorts in horror. O'Brien screams, letting go. Loopy, wet spaghetti strands collecting on the sidewalk in a pile as his arms fall. The sound collectively inhales. The hands plop on the top of the pile like a strange garnish. O'Brien whimpers. A car screeches to a stop and O'Brien jumps at the sound. As he lands, his body jerking to the side, his arms suddenly begin to reel in like fishing line. The crowd's heads swivel back and forth, watching the arms snap back into normal with a loud whip crack.
Oh, God.
He cradles the arm under the stare of the gaper's block. Chest heaving, he stumbles back 2 steps. He shoots out a look at the apartment window. The shadows of Sim and Dobby look down. He bolts. Interior Admiral hotel room. Sim and Dobby watch open mouth as O'Brien disappears down the street. Well, this is going to take some explaining. Sim whips out a cellular phone and dials. Miss Argon, it's Sim.
Mr. Sim, do you have him? He's alive?
Oh, yeah. He's alive. Technically.
And you have him?
We lost him. Interior Argon's office. Poppy sits atop a massive ebony slab of Argon's desk, the phone pressed to her ear.
Here, you tell him.
She smiles and hands the phone to Argon.
Mr. Sim, you know I sooner kill the messenger than listen to bad news.
Interior Admiral hotel room. Sim swallows hard. Don't worry there, Dr. Argon. He gave us the slip in a matter of speaking. But we're definitely closing in on him. Dobby frowns.
Mr. Sim, when you do locate him, do not scare him off again. Just watch him. I think you can handle that. Right, Mr. Sim?
You got it, Dr. Argon. He hangs up. Shit. Sim slams his hand on the desk and finds pictures of Dr. Bright, a heart encircling them. But, hello? Exterior Argon Lab's day. We are looking through the lens of a local news network camera on location outside of Argon's lab. The camera rack focuses and pans to a network reporter, Spencer Lamb.
Tawney, I'm standing in front of the security station just outside of Argon Labs in Calumet City. Since 7 o'clock this morning, when security guards barred the weekend staff here at Argon Labs, rumors have been circulating as to the nature of the accident that occurred here last night.
He looks over his shoulder as an unmarked tanker rolls past the security gate.
All we know for sure is that at 9:30 a.m., 2 sedans carrying the county sheriff and men who have been identified as high-ranking officials of the EPA entered the Argonne offices and have not come out.
Interior Susan Bright's brownstone. We pull back, revealing the reporter on television in the kitchen.
We expect a statement sometime today, but until then we can only speculate that whatever did happen here, which has crews working around the clock no one was prepared for. This has been Spencer Lamb, live at Argon Labs.
Susan drops her coffee cup when she hears the name. She rushes to turn up the volume, but the special report is over. She is searching the other stations when someone pounds on her door. Through the peephole, she sees O'Brien, his face warped by the wide-angle lens.
Oh, shit.
With the chain still on, she opens the door.
Susie, you gotta help me.
Daniel, what are you doing here?
Please, Susan, I need help. Something is wrong with me.
Sorry, Daniel, I'm not a psychiatrist, not a psychiatrist.
No, something is really wrong. Look!
He stuffs his arm into the 3-inch slot between the door and the jab, and then squeezes his body and head through it. Susan steps back. Her mouth falls open.
You.
She points at him and then at the television.
They did it to me.
The nanobot.
As O'Brien spits the story out, his gestures become more animated.
Okay, last night, Argon's goons grabbed me. The big one hit me, probably did severe circular damage. And bam, I dropped the floor, and then Argon was there, and then it became like a bad dream. Everyone was laughing as he stuck this big needle on my neck, and then I'm not sure what happened, but I came to in a metal tank, and they drowned me with the white goo, and I thought I was dead. Everything soft and blurry, and the next thing I know, I wake up back in my hotel, and Argon's goons bust in, and we fight, and I fall out the window, and I thought I was a goner, but I hit the ground, and I bounce. I look up, and my arm is really, really long, and I know I shouldn't have been in your lab, but Jesus Christ, Susan, feel my skin, feel it. It feels like plastic.
He reaches his arm across the room and she feels his hand.
Just like the mouse.
Mouse? What mouse?
My first organic polymerization was a lab mouse.
What happened to it?
I don't know.
He jerks his hand away.
You don't know?
It escaped from the lab before we could finish the experiment.
But you've polymerized single-cell bacteria in the fruit flies. I know you have.
Yes.
Then you must have some point tried to reverse the procedure.
She nods, but it's not the kind of nod he was hoping for.
Oh, no. You've got to be able to fix me. Please, Susan, tell me you can make me normal again.
Once the subject was polymerized, we were unable to reassemble the original organic structure.
His legs go wobbly.
Oh, God, please. This can't be happening. I can't be plastic. A plastic man.
Daniel.
I'm a plastic man. A plastic man.
She slaps him in the face. His chin flaps back and forth before snapping back into place.
We don't have time for hysterics.
We don't?
What has happened to you is nothing compared to what is going to happen to Camelot City if we do not hurry.
Interior kitchen. She hands him a glass of water and drops several pills into his open palm.
What are these?
Mostly caffeine diuretics. Help you go to the bathroom.
Why?
The nanobot is still inside you. It's programmed to exit through the urinary tract. We need to as soon as possible. So swallow these.
He stares at the gleaming plastic capsules.
Pills. You know how I feel about pills?
If you don't want to do it this way, I can remove it surgically.
He gobbles them down.
Why do we need it?
The nanobot is the only thing that can stabilize the waste.
What waste?
Interior Argon Labs day. A blast of icy smoke coughs from a nozzle of a liquid nitrogen tank. Two men in their heavy insulated spacesuits work over the broken chamber where O'Brien was polymerized, dousing the assembler waste with liquid nitrogen hoses. The lab has become a winter wonderland. The lights have quit, and the room is lit only by a green and yellow fluoro glow sticks worn on the helmets of the workers. The assembler waste, covered in frost, bubbles and churns lava-like as the two men fire another burst of frozen gas. Frank Tater crosses the room, his boots crunching on the icy floor. Interior hall. Dr. Nigel Nebbleman, also wearing an insulated suit, waits for him.
Well, Frank?
Frank lifts his helmet.
I've never seen anything like it. We can't get a handle on it.
Interior basement lab. It is a poorly lit basement that Dr. Bright does most of her work.
To put it simply, the nanobot inside you is a microscopic machine encoded with information like a strand of messenger RNA that is programmed to synthesize your molecules with the polyisomers of the assembler fluid, building your entire organic system on a molecular level.
That was simple.
She sighs.
The nanobot combined your molecules with plastic molecules in the white assembler fluid so that on a molecular level, you are now more common with a good year tire than a human being.
Got it.
The problem is the byproduct created by the process.
The waste.
As they talk, we move along a stainless steel table where Susan is conducting a series of experiments with the waste. These tests reveal the stage of molecular deterioration caused by the waste.
Only part of the molecule from your assembler fluid bonds to your molecules. The part left over is a highly charged, unstable molecule we call a replicator.
She puts on a pair of protective gloves and grabs one of the test cylinders.
The effect that these replicators have on any matter, organic or inorganic, is similar to the molecular deterioration caused by nuclear radiation.
The pressurized seal sighs open and she purrs the contents out.
I've been measuring the levels of deterioration. As with radiation, the more exposure, the more damage it does.
A white egg rolls into her gloved palm.
I dropped a simple replicator in this egg 2 days ago.
She hurls the egg at the ground, and quite naturally at this point, it bounces back. He catches it. It squishes between his fingers like a racquetball. He pulls at it. It stretches like silly putty.
It's polymerized like me.
She takes the egg back.
The replicators start off like assemblers, but the replicators never stabilize.
What happens?
She opens another cylinder and pours it out. An oval-shaped wad of gray sludge splats onto the lid.
That was an egg?
3 days ago it was.
Well, what do these replicators do to people?
With enough exposure, the same thing they do to everything else.
He swallows hard, watching the egg wad cling like snot from the lid as she reseals the container. Exterior main gate day. Spencer Lamb is on the scene, which continues to escalate.
Here in Calumet City, a bomb has just dropped. Through anonymous sources, we have learned that Argon Labs may have been the victim of an attack by a radical environmentalist group. No such group has yet to claim responsibility, but we are expecting confirmation of these rumors at a press conference scheduled this afternoon.
Interior lab. Susan puts the cylinder of slime back into a huge freezer unit filled with similar cylinders.
So right now, there's little replicators spreading throughout Argon's lab.
That's right.
Isn't it already too late then?
She shakes her head, opening the final cylinder.
There's a 48-hour period during which the waste can be stabilized.
The contents slide into her hand.
The nanobot will start a chain reaction and transform the replicators through a double hydrogen bond, creating an ionic solid instead of a polymer.
The egg seems fossilized, halfway to becoming a wad of slime. She hands it to O'Brien. It's as fragile as a glass spider web.
Yet another miracle of modern science.
She ignores the sarcasm laced in that comment.
I think while you're waiting, we had better run on some basic diagnostics on you.
You're the doctor.
Exterior Susan Bright's brownstone. Across the street, a dark Lincoln ominously glides to a stop. Interior Sims Lincoln. Sim settles back, watching the building for any signs of O'Brien. And now we wait. Both he and Dobby are licking ice cream cones. For a moment, it's the only sound in the car. It's a damn good cone. Interior basement. O'Brien is sitting on the table, his shirt off, while Susan listens to his lungs with a stethoscope.
Breathe deep.
The air rushes out.
Lungs sound fine. You didn't have any pre-existing physical conditions, did you? Allergies, infections?
No, why?
She removes the stethoscope and grabs the light scope.
My theory is that during the polymerization, the nanobot should correct any malformed or defective molecules. Open.
His mouth stretches impossibly wide for an amazing view of the glands at the back of his throat. Looks fine.
That theory is the reason Argon has been pushing me to test the second nanobot. He believes it's the only thing that will save him.
She picks up a hypodermic needle.
I'd like to run a few sample blood tests to get an idea of how stable your condition is.
O'Brien's beginning to bounce a bit, the caffeine pumping through his veins.
Okay, sure, you're the doc.
Tearing open a needle package, she inserts it into the plastic hypo.
Hold still.
She fights to poke the needle through his resilient skin. Whenever a sliver of metal pops through, a tiny superball bubbles of blood bounce into the cartridge like ping pong balls in a bingo machine.
Amazing.
She fills another cartridge when he begins to chatter, his rubbery teeth vibrating against each other.
Is something wrong?
No, I just feel wired.
His whole body is beginning to twitch and ripple.
It's probably the caffeine.
Suddenly, he realizes he has to go to the bathroom.
Whoa, I gotta go, like right now.
She slips the needle out and he bolts off the table.
Wait!
She grabs a glass beaker as his hand shoots back and snags it. Interior bathroom. He bursts in, fumbles with the beaker in his zipper, and then lets it rip. His eyes close as we hear him filling the beaker. It's a strange sound, more like a solid than a liquid. The sound bothers him when he looks down. What he sees terrifies him. Interior basement lab. Susan's looking through a microscope at the blood samples when he comes tearing down the stairs.
Susan!
What? What's wrong?
He throws the beaker onto the table as if it were contaminated.
Look at this!
What about it?
He sticks a stirring rod into it and pulls it out. The contents are extremely viscous, like rubber cement. A wispy strand dangles at the end of a stick.
Just look at it!
The polymerization probably synthesized in some kind of methocyanocrylate. What's wrong?
He looks as if he's about to cry.
It's not biodegradable.
She can't stop herself from laughing.
Oh, yeah. Real funny. Yuck. Oh, let's laugh at everything a man believes in, huh?
I'm sorry, Daniel, but you have to admit it's pretty ironic that you, of all people, would be the first man ever polymerized. It's got to mean something.
Means? Oh, no. We won't know what it means until the end of the story, and maybe it won't seem quite as funny to you, Dr. Frankenstein.
The smile disappears.
What's that supposed to mean?
Just giving credit where credit is due.
You have no one to blame but yourself.
Blame the victim,
Victim my ass. You stole my security cards, used it to break into my lab, and you do who knows what kind of damage. Maybe this is the end of the story and you finally got what you deserve.
That is what I deserve for trying to protect the world from a madman and his mercenary physicists.
You're not protecting the world. You're obstructing progress.
I don't consider uncontrollable toxic waste progress.
I'm sure you thought Columbus was going to sail off the edge of the world.
But lo and behold, he found another world that progress could annihilate.
Come on. I don't see you living in a cave.
And I don't see you sunbathing at Chernobyl.
She stops first, smiling, caught by an odd sense of deja vu. He smiles, feeling the same thing.
Just like old times.
Yeah, old times.
There's an awkward silence.
I want to know that I really appreciate you helping. I want you to know that I really appreciate you helping me.
I'm glad you came to me for help.
They aren't sure what to do.
I feel very emotional right now, a bit out of control.
Probably the caffeine.
Do you have anything to bring me down?
No problem.
Interior Argon's office. John Joplin, high-ranking EPA official, listens as Dr. Nebbleman tries to explain what has happened. Argon and Poppy are also in the office.
The nanobot is a molecular machine. It uses the assembler fluid to polymerize a whole system of carbon-based molecules as in, say, a human body. The nanobot is a molecular machine. It uses the assembler fluid to polymerize a whole system of carbon-based molecules as in, say, a human body.
His eyes shift nervously to Argon, who nods encouragingly.
Once it's complete, the waste from the assembler fluid is left destabilized with groups of highly charged attractors capable of bonding to any carbon molecule exposed for a long enough period.
Hold on, son. Are you saying that they can bond to people?
With enough exposure, it appears they can be bond to anything.
What will that do to people?
Nebbleman glances nervously at Argon.
This time, I mean, as I say, it's difficult to project.
Look, John, nobody wants to find out what happens. That's why you're here. We need your help on this one, and that's why that suitcase is here.
Poppy opens it for him. The root of all evil. Stacks and stacks of it.
Let me assure you, Dr. Argon, the EPA is, as always, on your side.
Interior Susan's living room. It is later. O'Brien is stretched out on the sofa in a Valium fugue. His long, supple limbs conform to the curves of the cushions, dangling over on all sides. His head is on the floor, neck distending away from the armrest. Mid-snore, he wakes up, yawning. From his upside-down view, he sees the refrigerator.
Food.
Interior basement lab. Susan is looking through a microscope, trying to find the nanobot.
Come on. Where are you?
Interior kitchen. O'Brien finds the fridge. Rubbernecking, he looks inside while his body lies on the couch.
Hey, Susie, I'm hungry.
Interior basement lab. She's still glued to the microscope.
Damn it.
She pounds her fist against the lab table.
Uh-oh, I remember that temper.
Daniel, I didn't hear you come down.
She turns and finds his head almost floating, perched on a neck, arching erectly up the stairs.
What's wrong?
The nanobot. It's not here.
Don't inside me.
She nods, watching his head bobbing cobra-like around her.
You'll have to start drinking fluids. Lots of fluids.
She reaches out and touches his neck. He smiles.
How far can you stretch?
I don't know.
Exterior Susan's backyard day. Standing in a square of rich green grass, O'Brien looks up. He lifts his head and takes a deep breath, staring at his fingers as they spread against the blue expanse above him.
Go ahead. Reach as high as you can.
From above his hand, we see O'Brien nod nervously and begin to reach. His face, Dr. Bright, the square lawn, the house, one by one, seem to fall away, spreading out under the hand until the ground seems like the sky did moments ago. Interior Sim's Lincoln. Sim and Dobby lean into the front windshield of the black Lincoln, watching O'Brien's arm telescope into the sky. That's why I love the security biz. Just when you think you've seen everything. He whips out his cellular and dials. Exterior Susan's backyard. Dr. Bright stares open mouthed at the arm ribbon as it rises impossibly like a kite. She turns and sees O'Brien's body thinning, almost spooling out like a ball of yarn until his pants fall down around his ankles. He feels the draft and turns to see her looking at him.
Oops.
He grabs his pants He grabs his pants as his arm returns with a rushing sound that ends with a loud, rubbery clap.
And I'll end up back in jail for indecent exposure.
Dr. Bright nods vaguely, already lost in thought.
What?
She reaches out and feels his hair. Interior basement lab. A scalpel saws through several strands of O'Brien's hair.
That should do it.
His hair is shorter, and she drops the strands with the rest of it into a Ziploc bag.
I'm going out for a while. I want to take the blood samples to a lab that has equipment I need.
What do you want my hair for?
Something else I want to try.
She puts the Ziploc bag into her briefcase and gets the blood samples.
I could go with you.
I think it would be better for me to go alone. I'm sure Sim is looking for you. Just sit tight. I'll bring you back a pizza.
No cheese.
I was hoping you were over that. Remember to keep drinking fluids.
Interior limo. Poppy, Argon, and John Joplin are inside as it pulls up outside of the Cook County Courthouse.
How do I look?
She's dressed in a two-piece PVC business suit. Smart, yet slutty. Argon smiles.
Positively paradoxical.
Interior Susan's living room. O'Brien is stretched out on the couch watching the Itchy and Scratchy show on television. He's drinking a 2-liter of soda without stopping. His Adam's apple bobs like a cartoon as he swallows. We can hear the Coke fizzing in his distending stomach. It swells like a water balloon. Finishing the bottle, he tosses it into the garbage bag filled with empties. He lets out a superhero-style belch, then settles back, chuckling like a cartoon. Itchy gets a frying pan to the face. On the table, there is a vase filled with dried flowers. He empties it and with the vase walks over to the hall mirror. Slowly, he forces the vase over his head. When he yanks it off, his head keeps the shape. He starts to laugh until his face pops back. There's a series of gurgling sounds from his stomach, and then he realizes he gotta go. He bolts for the bathroom, his hand whipping for the beaker. Same a bit later. He finishes and sets the beaker back where it was. He thinks and mumbles.
Technically, I don't even have to go to the bathroom.
We move closer and closer to the beaker, through the glass into a golden fluid, shrinking as we move through the murk down to a molecular level as we squeeze between the chains of elastomers and find the nanobot. Interior Cook County Courthouse. The press room is small considering the sizable horde that is packed wall to wall, shoulder to shoulder to see CEO Poppy Argon and the EPA deliver their statements. The white noise of press chatter reaches a fever pitch as the county sheriff leads Poppy Argon and several EPA officials in. John Joplin steps into the podium with the white white noise dies. He leans into the bouquet of microphones, opening his statement.
Yeah, good afternoon. The intent of the EPA.
Man shouts in the crowd. Who are you?
Oh, I'm John Joplin, special investigator for the EPA. The intent of the press conference is twofold. Number one, to affirm that there has been a slight chemical spill at Argon Labs. Cleanup is already underway.
Flashbulbs burst.
And number two, that the EPA, in conjunction with members of Illinois County Sheriff Department and the FBI, have concluded that the spill was not accidental.
Press begins to titter and Joplin raises his voice.
Last night, Argon Labs was the target of what can only be described as a terrorist act.
Another barrage of flashes.
This single assailant sabotaged certain chemical storage units, creating the toxic spill.
Are there any suspects?
The only thing I can say is that the perpetrator was photographed by Argon security cameras. The rest of the details of the case, until a later time, will be kept in the highest confidentiality. Thank you.
The press erupts. Who was it? Was it a group? Have you identified him? Joplin's eyebrows go up and he turns back to the podium.
Oh yeah. His name is Daniel O'Brien.
The entourage begins to file under a barrage of questions. Spencer Lamb fights to get his crew in front of Poppy.
Mrs. Argon, do you have anything to say to this O'Brien character?
Poppy looks at the mic, several others surrounding.
All I can say is that when these radicals act outside the law, recklessly endangering the environment and human lives, it clearly demonstrates that they are a menace and we are the victims.
Interior Susan's living room. The television is on, although muted. We hear O'Brien's grunting through the sound of sweaty rubber rubbing against rubber. The door opens and Susan enters, a pizza box in one hand, briefcase in the other.
Daniel?
As she enters, she notices something different about the furniture. There is a second flesh-colored love seat. O'Brien's head suddenly pops out.
Surprise!
His head pops up from the top of the back.
That's pretty good.
Getting used to it.
He starts to get up, becoming human, the rounded padded seat swelling into his buttocks when she realizes that he's naked.
Whoa!
He pops back into a chair.
Don't worry, I got just what you need.
A leg of the chair shoots out as he grabs his underwear from a pile of clothes. Susan sets the pizza box down and opens her briefcase.
I have a friend at a textile lab. She helped me.
The O'Brien chair pulls the underwear over the front two legs, covering the cushion as he stands, changing back to normal.
Ta-da!
He holds up a tiny red suit that looks big enough for a G.I. Joe doll.
What's that?
It's a crime-fighting costume. What do you think? It's underwear, so if you lose your clothes, you'll still be decent.
That's going to fit me.
Like a glove.
He pulls at it. It stretches easily.
And you made this out of my hair?
Sort of. We used a process similar to vulcanization of rubber and added a bulk with a chain of chloroprene elastomers.
He shakes his head.
I bet you still kill at Scrabble.
She smiles.
Go on, try it. Oh, wait.
She reaches back into her bag.
There was some extra, so I made you these.
In her palm are 2 little red boots.
Cute.
As he crosses to the bathroom, we see the television again, updating at the crisis at the Argon Labs.
Did you go?
Oh, the 2. Sorry.
Did you go?
On
Potty?
the counter. On the counter.
She grabs the sample, heading immediately
Into the bathroom when the television catches her eye.
Ha!
Interior bathroom. O'Brien crams one foot in and then the other. The material stretches miraculously. Interior, Susan's living room. O'Brien bounds out of the bathroom.
In brightest day, nor darkest night, no evil shall escape my sight.
Susan is silent in front of the TV, the sound now on. She's still holding the beaker.
What is it?
He moves around her and sees his own face on the screen. It's a black and white photo of him about to sneeze. At the bottom of the screen is the title, Voice of Dr. Warren Wertham.
An extremely volatile individual given to emotional outbursts.
Wertham? That's no good.
Who is he?
The head shrinker at the prison.
Paranoid delusions and prone to hero fantasies, all of which are characteristic of a form of infantile dementia.
Ha! What a crock! He couldn't be more wrong, could he?
She says nothing.
I said, could he?
The sneeze picture shrinks to an insert over the anchor woman, Tawney Tower's shoulder.
It's not me. Once again, at this time, authorities continue their statewide manhunt for the man believed responsible for the situation developing at Argon Labs. As reports come in, News Center 5 will continue to update you.
Susan cuts it off.
Oh no, they're trying to blame you for the accident. That must mean they have not been able to control the replicators.
I can't go back to jail. I gotta get out of here.
You're not going back to jail. All we need to do is find the nanobot. Once the meltdown is under control, then we deal with Argon.
Suddenly, the front door explodes open, the jab easily splintering under Dobby's girth. Dobby and Sim barrel in, pistols pointing.
What the hell?
Pipe down, brain lady. And you. The gun sweeps towards O'Brien. I'll curb that monkey business lesson you want to find out if rubber skin of yours is bulletproof. Now, keep your hands where I can see them. He notices the urine sample. What's that? Susan doesn't miss a beat.
Lemonade. You want some?
She offers him the beaker. Sim considers it. No thanks. Back to business. Put it down and let's go. Someone wants to talk to you. He waves him out the front door and she sets the beaker down on the counter. Exterior, Susan Bright's brownstone. The black limo fires up and the foursome approaches. Sim opens the door and Sim opens the back door for O'Brien and Dr. Bright. Get in. Interior limo. In the artificial coolness, Daniel O'Brien sits with Icarus Argon across from Poppy, Susan, and Dr. Nebbleman. In the back window, we see Sim's Lincoln follow. Poppy brandishes a chrome revolver from her handbag. Argon smiles in the shady light, makeup covering the more abrasive features of his spotty skin.
My apologies to you both for the rather rude invitation, but I had to see you. And Dr. Bright, your house isn't
He motions into his blanket-draped legs.
wheelchair accessible.
Dr. Argon, I demand an explanation.
Well, I could explain it. Attempted murder wasn't enough for him. He wants to add kidnapping to the charges.
If you'd like, we can go straight to the authorities. I understand they're very interested in talking to you.
O'Brien's only response is to grind his teeth in silence.
We haven't been properly introduced, Mr. O'Brien. I am Icarus Argon.
He offers his hand, taking O'Brien's. He closes his eyes, beginning to caress O'Brien's hand between his withered brown flesh of his own.
Do you know how I made my first fortune? Polyvinyl chloride, PVC. It was almost 30 years ago when I first held a credit card in my hands. There was something about the way it felt. I told myself paper was doomed. This was the future.
He looked at O'Brien's hand. Let's go.
Plastic.
Wow, that is one moving story. Take it easy on my heartstrings. Now I feel guilty complaining about you shooting me up with your poison.
Poison? I'm surprised at you. You lack vision, Mr. O'Brien.
You're lacking a few things too. Ethics, morals, common decency, and oh yeah, deodorant.
Argon smiles. His coolness irritates O'Brien.
Look at me, Mr. O'Brien. I once competed for Mr. Universe, but now I am reduced to this. A withered shell. A prison of rot.
He leans into O'Brien.
People ask me what I did to myself. I answer, what didn't I do? I treated my body like I treat the rest of the world, as a force to be controlled. Most people believe there is something sacred about the human body, about nature. They are the same fools who thought the world was flat.
O'Brien smirks.
The body is just another part of nature, and ever since we gave up trees for central air, there has been nothing sacred about nature. Nature is the enemy, Mr. O'Brien, and science is our greatest weapon against her.
You egomaniacs make me laugh. Nature's gonna bury you like she buries everyone else.
Argon laughs.
Not anymore, Mr. O'Brien. The nanobot has changed that.
If you think I would ever give you the nanobot after this, you're deluding yourself.
You don't have to give it to us, because Dr. Nebbleman can just cut it out of him.
Ha! Morons! It's not even in me anymore.
Everyone reacts.
What?
Before O'Brien can say anything else, Susan slaps her hand over his mouth.
She could have given him something to stimulate his kidneys.
Dr. Nebbleman, take care of them.
Argon grabs the car phone while Nebbleman removes a loaded syringe from a black case.
Mr. Sim, I want you to return to Dr. Bright's. I believe she's hiding something of ours there.
No.
We see the Lincoln turn off the highway.
Daniel, do something.
With eye-blurring speed, O'Brien's arm rockets out as he grabs for the needle. Nebbleman screams as O'Brien's hand molds over his own. Poppy wheels as O'Brien and Nebbleman falls, screaming, wrestling against his own hand. Before she can raise the gun, Dr. Bright lunges, grappling for control. The gun fires wildly.
No!
The bullet ricochets around the cabin before embedding in the seat cushion in between Nebbleman's legs. O'Brien pushes the hypo plunger down, squirting the sedative into Nebbleman's face. Nebbleman screams.
Daniel, go! I'll be all right. Get the nanobot.
He nods, yanking the door handles, but they're locked. He quickly glances around the limo, then dives for the rear seat, body thinning, flattening into the crack of the seat where it meets the back, leaving Poppy clinging to his empty clothes as he disappears from the cabin. Nebbleman can hardly catch his breath.
Where did he go?
The trunk.
As soon as the words pass Argon's reptilian lips, there's a click and the trunk opens behind them.
Out! Shake him!
Exterior limo. O'Brien stands and the limo begins zigzagging hard on the open expressway. Argon smiles through the rear window as O'Brien tries to keep his balance.
Here goes nothing.
O'Brien throws an arm at a passing truck going in the opposite direction, seizing a hold of it, slinging himself like a rubber band into the air, tucking his knees into his chest, bracing himself. He becomes a red comet that crashes into an oncoming Cadillac, caving in its hood and rebounding into the air, soaring over a row of homes. A rumpled heap, he lands heavily into a plot of backyard bushes.
Ow!
He stumbles to his feet, shaking away the cobwebs.
Damn!
His teeth grit, muscles flex. O'Brien's POV rockets into the air, shooting straight up, racing towards bounding over lines and rooftops. Exterior limo. Order has been somewhat restored. Poppy presses the barrel of her pistol into Dr. Bright's midsection. Dr. Nebbleman is still red-faced from the physical exertion. His glasses begin to fog as he cleanses them with his kerchief. The phone rings.
Yes?
It's Sim. We're almost there.
Mr. Sim, watch out! O'Brien escaped. Could be on his way.
Exterior apartment building backyard. Two small children are playing in their sandbox. Suddenly, a red foot stomps down between them, a thin leg stretching up into the sky. It rocks forward and pushes off and away. The two kids stare at each other blankly. Exterior, Susan Bright's brownstone. Sim and Dobby head for the door, Sim still on a cellular phone. You want to tell me what I'm looking for?
I've only been invited to her house once, but I know there's a basement lab that she uses for private research.
Okay.
You were never invited to my house.
You're looking for a urine sample.
Bingo. Exterior, Susan Bright's brownstone. Sim stares towards the basement when out of the corner of his eye he notices.
The floor should be murky yellow and the color and extremely viscous.
The beaker of lemonade. Interior city street. O'Brien grabs the top building and he vaults over as though hopping a fence. Interior, Susan Bright's brownstone. Sim inspects the beaker as if he might taste it. He takes a whiff. Wait a minute. This ain't no lemonade. Interior limo. Susan glares at Nebbleman. What's it smell like?
Smell? Something like methylyl. I've been drinking too much for this. Cracolate?
Like
Methycyanoacrylate.
What she said.
So like crazy glue?
Yes, that's it. He's got it. She's got it. Oh, God, he's got it.
Exterior, Susan Bright's brownstone. O'Brien watches from beneath a light post as Sim and Dobby cross from Susan's walk to the Lincoln. He slinks down among a row of parked cars and edges towards the street. The black Lincoln starts towards us, getting bigger, filling our vision, and then passes over. And we see O'Brien's clinging to the chassis like a rubbery Max Cady. Exterior, Calumet City, day. The afternoon sun has started its descent over the industrial landscape. Tongues of exhaust flame lick up in the orange popsicle sky. Exterior, main gate. The black limousine eases through the gate against the swell of media. The steel garage doors rattle open like a modern portcullis. Interior, Argon Labs. The barrel-shaped limo driver helps Argon into his wheelchair.
Gently, Ott, gently.
Dr. Nebbleman, I want to know the moment the nanobot arrives. The instant, understand?
Of course, sir.
Dr. Argon, I know you want to use the nanobot on yourself, but you mustn't. The situation is critical right now. The replicators are growing exponentially. If we wait much longer, it will be too late. You have to use the nanobot to stop the meltdown.
Dr. Bright, I don't have to do anything.
But in another 24 hours, the core meltdown will be on the stabilization period. There'll be no way to stop it.
To be brutally honest with you, Susan, as long as the nanobot does to me what it did to that idiot O'Brien, I don't give a rat's ass about what happens after that.
The sincerity of a smile unnerves her.
You can't mean that.
Come with me, Susan. I want to show you something.
Interior, Argon's office. The elevators open and Poppy, Argon, and Susan get out.
Something to drink, Dr. Bright?
No, thank you.
You'll forgive me, but all the excitement has left me extremely parched. Poppy?
Poppy gets him a Coca-Cola when Susan notices the statue of Argon.
A monument to my past. I much prefer the future. Come.
Interior, conservatory. The moist air envelops them as they enter.
This is my garden. Few people have seen it because it means so much to me. I'm hoping as a fellow scientist you can appreciate it.
It's a botanical nightmare. Huge sealed tanks feature bizarre plant life bred and genetically engineered indiscriminately, like a blind man pairing a sock drawer. Susan moves to a yellow brick lane, a look of horror wrinkling her face.
Gardener.
A man in a green jumpsuit looks up. This is the gardener. He is never without his red sprayer tank slung over his shoulder and is always wearing an old snouted gas mask.
Would you excuse us?
He disappears as the three start down the path.
Every species, every organism is the only one of its kind, created through crossbreeding or chemical and radioactive mutation as well as genetic manipulation.
Inside atmospherically controlled tanks, life exists where it should not. Translucent palmy ferns bask beneath a deadly drizzle of acid rain. Crystalline cacti flourish around a soft glow of radioactive isotope.
I spend more time here than anywhere else, nurturing them, treating them, because they all require very special care.
He gazes into a sealed geranium with a single flower and the petals of a color of a dead fish. It is being fed drops of of phosphorescent paste from tubes that hang like an IV.
Poppy calls them my children, and I suppose that's how I feel. That I have given birth to all of them, and there is nothing as precious or as beautiful as one's own children.
Poppy smiles at him as they stop in front of a tank where sea monkey-like creatures titter and play inside their toxic solarium.
We will always love most that which we create. Don't you agree, Susan?
Does this mean that Oppenheimer loved the atomic bomb?
She can't believe she just used O'Brien's line.
More than he would ever admit. His child changed the world. What could make a parent more proud than that?
Interior Argon Labs. The black Lincoln glides into the garage. The door closes behind them and the car eases into a parking space. The cement block in front of it reads, DT Sim, Chief of Security. From under the car, we see the feet of Sim and Dobby sweep by, then disappear as the two men enter the lobby of Argon Tower. O'Brien drops to the ground from the Lincoln drive shaft, letting out a string of whispered expletives. Interior Conservatory. Argon sips from the Coca-Cola, watching Susan.
I brought you up here, Dr. Bright, because I want you to understand that we are on the path. The only difference is that you are walking with your head down, afraid to look up, to see where the path is going.
I suppose you're going to tell me where it's going.
I ask you, what is the purpose of science? What is the point of all of our relentless exploration, investigation, and experimentation? It is to understand a single physical phenomenon, or to understand them all, to cure one disease or to cure every disease. If science is simply a means, what then is the end?
His wheelchair clicks and hums towards her.
Look up. Look above you, Susan, and tell me what you see.
She looks up through the glass roof of the conservatory at the soot-stained sky.
Pollution?
Do you know what I see? I see man making his own clouds. I see man coloring his own sky. And like this garden, it is a sight that makes my heart sing.
He licks his lips.
This is our world, Susan. And once you realize that, you will understand that the only place our path can end is on the throne of heaven. Science is the quest for divine perfection.
How do you know we're not heading in the wrong direction?
I look behind us. I look to the past, to a world steeped in rot and decay. I think of the Acropolis in another century, reduced to little more than dust. I see the faces of Rushmore eventually losing all distinction, and then I look at this.
He cradles the plastic bottle of Coca-Cola.
And I imagine it in 1,000 years as perfectly shaped as the day it was made.
He smiles at her.
I find that thought exceptionally reassuring.
Nebbleman bursts through the glass doors.
They're here. They're here. We have the nanobot.
Excellent. How long until the assembler tank is complete?
Nebbleman's glasses steam up from the humidity as he stumbles towards them.
Dr. Makeo is working on it now, sir. I estimate at least another 6 hours.
In the meantime, why don't you find something useful for Dr. Bright to do?
I swear to you, Argon, if you don't stop the meltdown, that nanobite will be the last thing I ever build.
Susan, I sense you're having difficulty understanding the situation you're presently in. I ask that you keep in mind that I am ready to reduce an entire city to gelatin to get what I want.
Susan notices the guards posted at the door.
If I were you, I'd be careful about making promises that you will be unable to keep.
His smile is as subtle as a knife point. Interior hall gallery. O'Brien sneaks ever so silently, edging towards the door at the opposite end. The walls are covered with an impressive collection by artists like Dali, Picasso, and Bacon, picture lit dramatically. As he nears the end, he suddenly hears voices moving towards him. He jumps back, searching for a place to hide. 2 armed guards enter.
Who are we supposed to be looking for?
Some guy in red underwear.
They do not notice the bizarre red portrait hanging on the wall.
How are we supposed to know the color of his underwear?
Interior hall. A guard is posted outside of Susan's room. Interior Susan's room. Scientific equipment is piled in a room that looks like a guest bedroom. Awkwardly filling the center of the room is a large industrial freezer unit. Nebbleman and Susan are alone.
These samples were taken from the surrounding area. All the pertinent information is on the desk.
Nebbleman lifts the lid, cold air puffing out, spilling over the freezer's edge.
What we need to know is the expansion rates, how soon the replicators will reach the edge of the compound.
Inside, there are several normal-looking objects taken from the lab, including a metal stool, a microscope, and several glass beakers. She stares at him numbly.
I don't believe this is happening.
Susan, Dr. Argon is giving you an opportunity here.
Opportunity?
That snaps her up.
There's a guard outside my door. I'm a prisoner, Nigel. Do you understand that?
Dr. Argon would say we're all prisoners.
Argon is a lunatic. I can't believe I was stupid enough to believe that I could control him. You heard what he said, Nigel. He doesn't care if all of Calumet City is turned into Jell-O. How can that not affect you?
Because I'm a new man, Susan. I'm a man of vision. Your problem, Susan, is that you're always looking down. If you just look up, see the big picture, and in the big picture, men of vision. Do not dwell on what might be lost. Focus on what can be gained.
Is that what Argon told you?
No! Well, not those exact words.
Nigel, can't you see he's using you?
Of course he is. At least there isn't a security guard outside my door.
You're afraid of him.
Who isn't?
Her eyes narrow.
Daniel O'Brien.
Interior hall. O'Brien tiptoes past the intersecting hall when he hears. Hey! O'Brien freezes. Hey, you! The security man is 100 feet away. Before he can even get his gun out, O'Brien's arm shoots down the hall, a huge hand reaching, covering the security man's entire head before he is able to scream. The hand is like a plastic bag over his head that he can't get free of until he finally blacks out. O'Brien lays him down gently. His arm snacks back and he tiptoes away. Interior Susan's room. Nebbleman smirks, cleaning his glasses.
I'm not interested in being a hero, Susan. I'm not interested in self-delusion and romantic sentiment.
He puts his glasses back on.
I'm a scientist. I've lived my whole life by the diagnostic application of fact. And the fact is, Argon is going to get whatever he wants. So if I were you, I'd give it to him.
You mean the designs of the nanobot? You think after this, I'm going to give them to him?
I think that either you're going to give them to him, or he's going to make you give them to him.
Make me? How? You think he's going to torture me?
Nebbleman shrugs.
I would.
He smiles, and that makes it worse.
Get out! Get out now before it hurts you!
Ooh.
Nebbleman stammers before scurrying out the door. Interior hall. O'Brien is searching different rooms, stuffing his head between the door and the jab, calling Susan in a hushed voice. The elevator at the end of the hall opens, and we hear an electronic whine of Argon's wheelchair together with the tap of Poppy's stiletto heels. He presses himself flat against the nearest door.
Do you think she will give us the designs?
Eventually. These things are always a matter of leverage.
And you think O'Brien is that leverage?
That remains to be seen.
O'Brien peeks out and sees they're heading straight at him.
And you still believe he's going to come here?
Based on what we know of him, that would seem inevitable.
Do you think she loves him?
She must feel something for him. After all, she and I did create him.
It seems they're about to see him, but when they reach the double doors, O'Brien is gone. She throws open the door and he follows her into interior Poppy's bedroom. Everything is red, PVC gleaming like patent leather.
Do you think she loves him like I love you?
It's a woman's question, and it annoys him.
Poppy, are you in one of your moods again?
No, Icky, this is real.
She closes the doors behind them.
I've been thinking a lot since this all started. Thinking about us.
Uninterested in the direction of the conversation, Argon notices there are two identical ottomans.
You know how I feel about you. You know how much I need you. How much I trust you. I would do anything for you.
Why are there two ottomans?
Icarus, please. This is important.
She sees him staring at the ottoman and steps up onto it, heels gouging into the padding. The ottoman gurgles.
Look at me, Icarus. Look at my body. I've done everything, changed anything you asked me to. We will always love the most that which we create. Is that still true?
Yes. Yes, of course it is.
Then you still love me?
Poppy, please, just tell me what you want.
She steps down and kneels close to the wheelchair.
I want to know what will happen if the nanobot works on you and you become like O'Brien, a plastic man. What will happen to me?
He realizes what she's asking.
You want to be polymerized?
Timidly, she looks up into his eyes.
Plastic means forever, doesn't it?
His smile is like a razor cut, lips slowly widening.
That it does, my dear, that it does.
She smiles until he pulls away and begins wheeling out.
Icarus?
I promise, my dear, I will give the matter some consideration.
Consideration?
If you honestly trust me, then you'll have to trust me.
He closes the door. Angrily, she turns away, looking for something to hit. She picks up a hairbrush instead and begins violently brushing her hair in the vanity mirror. Beneath her in the mirror, we see the ottoman scurry mouse-like to the closet door. Interior bathroom. O'Brien stands up in agony, holding his back where her heels dug in. A clattering noise draws him to the door. He peeks out just as she pulls down a zipper on her dress. Struggling out of the sleeves, she walks towards the bathroom. O'Brien searches the room. Where the bedroom was red, the bathroom is almost completely white. There's nowhere for him to hide except the toilet. He climbs in as the door opens. She drops her dress and kicks off her shoes. As she moves to the tub, O'Brien's hand reaches up and pulls the flush. She hears the toilet flush, looks at it, wiggling the handle. Interior Susan's room. Susan is moving around the room, thinking. In her gloved hand is the glass beaker, which she is wriggling nervously, wadding, crinkling, and pulling at it so intensely it sounds like popping bubble wrap. She looks at the windows and the black steel bars outside. We rise above her, moving towards the chandelier, towards that single light bulb that is apparently burned out, until we can see into the grayish glass and find the tip of the fiber optic cable. Interior security booth, close on monitor, as if looking through the window down into Susan's room. Ubiquitous. A lower angle. Simmons reading from the dictionary. Ubiquitous. Present or seeming to be present everywhere at the same time. Omnipresent. Looks up. I like that. Interior pipes. O'Brien zips through the intersecting, elbowing maze of pipes. Interior bathroom. Another toilet seat peeks open. The room is empty. O'Brien climbs out. He grabs a towel, drying himself as he quietly cracks open the door. When he sees Susan at the desk, he can't believe his luck.
Susan!
She nearly jumps out of her skin.
Daniel,
They rush into each other's arms.
I don't believe it. You're here. Oh, thank God.
You didn't think I could just leave you, huh?
I didn't know what was going to happen. I was just so worried something was going to happen to you.
What could happen? I'm the plastic man, remember?
She remembers Argon.
Oh no. Argon, we have to stop him before he uses the nanobot. We have to get the nanobot.
Where is it?
Argon's private lab.
Let's go.
They start for the door when Susan whispers.
Wait, there's a guard.
O'Brien almost laughs.
I'll never know what hit him.
He grabs the handle and throws open the door. Susan can't see what he sees, but she knows by his reaction, it's not good. Savoir-faire is everywhere. O'Brien backs up into the room, pushed by a very large gun. I am Mr. Ubiquitous, ain't I, O'Brien? Dobby enters behind Sim with several heavily armed guards. You know what ubiquitous means, don't you? Means here we go again. Sim laughs very loudly as Argon wheels in, Poppy at his side.
Welcome to my home, Mr. O'Brien. As you can see, we've been expecting you.
Sim laughs again.
This is wonderfully accommodating of you all. Now, I won't have to come looking for you.
You were looking for us?
Yeah, I have something I've been meaning to give you.
Yeah, and what might that be?
An ass beating Would you like yours first, Mr. Sim?
Sim cocks his gun, and now O'Brien smiles. Just try it. Come on, do something. Move. Anything, anything. Just twitch. Blink. I dare ya. I double dare ya. Completely rigid, frozen like a smiling mannequin. Sim doesn't know what to do. He looks around the room when O'Brien's tongue lashes out like a frog and snatches the gun. Oh, that's disgusting. O'Brien levels the gun at Argon and everybody reacts.
I should kill you right now for what you did to me.
Maybe you should, but you can't.
Susan screams as Dobby grabs her and pins the gun to her head.
Run, Daniel, get out of here!
I'm not leaving without you, Susan.
You don't have to leave, Mr. O'Brien. We've prepared a wonderful room for you. I think you'll find it quite comfortable. So comfortable, in fact, I doubt you'll ever want to leave.
As he speaks, they all pull out white oxygen masks.
Gardner,
The gardener appears, sprayer in hand, and rushes straight at O'Brien, aiming the nozzle at his face. O'Brien tries to back away to find air, but the nozzle is everywhere, pumping a mist that envelops both of them. Coughing, choking, unable to breathe, the gas begins to take effect. O'Brien collapses, the gas-masked figure standing over his soft, rubbery head.
No!
Poppy and Argon exchange quiet smiles.
What are you going to do to him?
do? Well, I suppose that depends on you.
She knows what he wants, and her head drops. Interior conservatory. The gardener adjusts several gas valves, and we follow the feed tubes up to the top, where a humidifier blows breath into the sealed chamber. The gas drifts down to the bottom, where we see the supple red puddle of O'Brien. Floating on the edge of consciousness, O'Brien lifts his head. Outside of the curved plexiglass, he sees the warped faces staring at him. His eyes roll and his head pitches forward, slapping and flattening against the plexi. Dr. Bright touches the glass.
What did you use?
A light mixture of oxygen, dioxide, and sodium pentothal. He'll sleep, that's all.
She takes a last look at him, then steadies herself as she turns to Argon.
I'll give you the design. You let us both go. That's the deal.
Argon nods. Interior Argon's private lab. Makeo and Nebbleman watch as the new assembler tank finishes the test run. The tank looks like a cross between a Geiger's sarcophagi and a dry cleaning machine. The motor pumps and suddenly stops as the lab grows quiet.
It's ready.
Interior Susan's room. Susan's at the desk, her jaw set, her face blank in a kind of analytical trance. Interior security booth. Sim and Dobby are alone at the control center. Sim is trying to concentrate on Susan with the same intensity that she's concentrating with. He fails. You know why I hate smart women? Dobby says nothing. They're always thinking, but you never know what they're thinking. Interior Susan's room. Suddenly, she walks to the far wall and turns out the light. Interior security booth. The monitor goes dark. Like why'd she do that? Interior Susan's room. In the dark, she takes her chair and wedges it under the door handle. She puts on protective gloves.
All right, Argon. You want to fight? You got one.
Then throws open the freezer unit. Exterior conservatory. In the drugged haze, O'Brien searches for the edges of his prison. His head and limbs move with a strange fluidity, rising and falling like the molten blebs of a lava lamp. His fingers find the gas line opening in the blower. Taking a deep breath, he sticks his arm into the tiny hole and pulls himself up inside. We follow the coils of copper tubing down to the different tanks of gas. We hear the tink-tink as he bounds against the metal canisters. Unable to hold his breath, he rises through the gas fields, banking into the opening where he emerges like a giant red droplet of water, falling and splashing back into his cell. Interior Poppy's bedroom. Poppy is helping Argon undress.
Can you feel it, Poppy? The presence of the moment. Can you feel the weight of its significance?
Oh, yes, Icky, I can feel it.
This is what my entire life has been directed at. This moment, this threshold.
Okay, arms up, lean forward.
He leans over her shoulder and she holds him up while she takes his pants off.
I stand on the verge of man's greatest triumph over the forces of nature.
Pants down, she sets him back into the chair.
Gently, gently. My metamorphosis will be more than a simple transformation.
She pulls his feet free of each pant leg.
It will be an ascension.
I'm so excited, Icarus.
She stands, helping him with his robe.
I was wondering if you'd finished considering?
Considering what?
What I asked you earlier.
He realizes what she's talking about.
Poppy, please.
If you loved me like I loved you,
Poppy, this is not the time.
There's a knock at the door.
Yes?
Dr. Makeo enters.
We are ready for you, sir.
Interior hall. Sim, Dobby, and several security guards are outside Dr. Bright's room. Dr. Bright. This isn't doing anybody any good. He knocks, yelling. This isn't very cooperative behavior. I'm going to tell Dr. Argon you aren't cooperating. The door doesn't budge. Come on, we know you're in there. No answer. He turns to Dobby in disgust. Break it down. Interior Susan's room. We hear Dobby slam against the door, but it holds. Across the dark room, we see Susan standing at the window.
Come on, come on.
She's holding the glass beaker against the iron bars, infecting them with the replicator fallout. Body batters the door again. She drops the beaker and grabs a hold of 2 bars. They bend like thick rods of rubber.
Yes!
The next blow vibrates the entire frame. Ignoring it, she grabs a hold of the stool that was also taken from the lab. Stretching one of its legs, she ties it to the non-polymerized bars. The door splinters at the hinge. Hurrying, she squeezes herself and the stool out between the rubber bars. Standing on the ledge, she makes a crucial mistake. She looks down. The roof of the main laboratory is 40 feet away. Exterior main gate. Chatting with the other reporters, Spencer looks up and sees Dr. Bright standing outside the window.
Holy shit, Jumper.
He grabs his cameraman.
Get this, get this.
Exterior Susan's room. The door shrieks, cracking wide open. Out on the ledge, Susan closes her eyes.
It'll work. It's got to.
Holding tightly to the other leg of the stool, she takes a deep breath and steps off the ledge. She falls, the stool stretching surreally, but it is not pliable enough to reach the roof below. Halfway down, it slows, about to bungee bounce her back up. Her body jerks as the leg is wrenched from her grip, sending her cartwheeling into the open air. She seems to hang for a moment, watching the stool shrinking out back to the window. She screams. Exterior, every camera is locked on her. Exterior roof, there is nothing between her and the roof except the force of gravity, and it sucks her down. Plummeting, helplessly hurtling, she screams again as she slams into the roof. But instead of splattering against it, she bounces up. The polymerized roof gives like a trampoline, tossing her lightly until she lays on her back, staring up at the window, the adrenaline bubbling out of her in laughter and tears. Exterior main gate. The cameraman looks at Spencer.
There's a logical explanation. Has to be.
Here, Susan's room. Sim finds the stool still tied to the bars. Outside, he sees Susan climbing down through the roof access door into the quarantined lab. Oh, shit. Where's Argon? Interior Argon's private lab. Argon sits in the wheelchair, eyes blazing as Nebbleman draws the nanobiotic fluid into a hypodermic needle.
Of course, you understand, Dr. Argon, that once the nanobot is inside of you, there is no going back.
Shut up and do it.
Nebbleman forces down a swallow and then sticks the needle into his neck. Interior main lab. Susan moves through the unreal reality of the polymerized building. Her feet sink with every step into the floor. Door handles bend like kneaded dough. The concrete-formed steps of the stairwell pillow out under her weight and she loses her balance, groping for a rail that also distends.
This is insane.
Interior Argon's private lab. Argon sheds his robe and, wearing black bikini briefs, he starts to climb into the tank. Makeo tries to help him.
No, I'll do it myself.
His legs, withered and atrophied like sticks of beef jerky, drag behind him. With obvious effort, he pulls himself into the chamber. Wheezing, he can only nod to Dr. Makeo, who closes and seals the chamber. Dr. Makeo cranks the pressurized balloon valves, watching the gauges as the chemicals begin to flow from the mixing vats into the main chamber. There is a muffled scream as the chamber begins to fill, knocking and shaking silently. Several nervous glances are exchanged as the gauges begin to climb. Interior conservatory. Close on the red teeth of a strange, serrated shaft. O'Brien has formed his arm into a massive tire jack, which spans the walls of his transparent cage. His other arm works the lever with slow determination, ratcheting up the shaft. Outside the tank, the polyethylene window begins to bulge where his hand is pressed. O'Brien glares beneath his heavy eyelids.
Come on, O'Brien.
Interior main lab. Susan sneaks out of the stairwell. Down the hall, she sees 2 members of the containment crew in their heavy protective suits, each with a tank strapped to their back, and is hosing the entire hall with liquid nitrogen. They do not notice her. As she heads the other way, trying not to let the floor squeak. Interior conservatory. Above O'Brien, a humidifier hisses sodium pentothal wafting down. He grits his rubbery teeth and cranks the lever. It clicks one more tooth. The walls swell, warping, creaking as the lever arcs back.
Just one more.
Sweat pours down his face, but just as the tooth clicks, the arm shaft bends and O'Brien collapses into a watery pile. Interior main lab. The tank rumbles as Poppy chews at the perfect nail.
I can't stand it. How much longer?
Nebbleman watches his timer for a moment, then counts down.
5, 4, 3, 2, drain it!
Makeo throws open the drain valve as Nebbleman monitors his improved waste system.
It's working. It's working.
Makeo unscrews the tank locks and steps back. Steam wheezes from an opening as a strange figure emerges, covered in a saran wrap caul. Hunched over, the figure coughs a gelatinous mass from his lungs as it tears free from a layer of polymerized sweat. No longer a debilitated cripple, Argon rises to his feet as everyone sees the massive physique restored to all of its former glory.
Oh my god.
He reaches out to the heavens and lets loose a scream that has been trapped for so long inside. Exterior main gate. The scream sends a chill through the reporters. Interior lab hall.
Oh, no.
The crew members hear the scream and stop working. One of them notices her.
Hey, hold it. Stop.
They rush at her. Searching for any kind of weapon, Susan grabs a fire extinguisher from the wall. Swinging it like a club, she lets the first one have it, but it too has been polymerized and the red tank bounces off of his skull.
Nuts.
Lady, you are in serious trouble.
He throws her back against the wall, which springs off, kicking him in the balls. Finally, finding something solid. Screaming, he falls to his knees, his hose spewing liquid nitrogen. The second man grabs her, causing her to drop the extinguisher into a puddle of foaming nitrogen. They wrestle until she tears herself free. Snatching hold of the extinguisher, she whips around, clubbing him again, but this time, the frozen tank explodes over his head, frothing like a shattered beer bottle. He falls to the soft mat-like floor. Interior Argon's private lab. Sim and Dobby emerge from the elevator and head for the lab. He hears Poppy giggling in Argon's new booming voice.
It's fantastic to be plastic.
Sim pushes into the lab and sees Argon, still wearing bikini briefs, bouncing Poppy into the air with his huge rubberized arms. Holy, Argon hears him.
Exactly right, Mr. Sim. You have entered one of the holiest places on Earth.
He catches Poppy and she cuddles against his chest.
This lab shall forever be consecrated ground, and you, Mr. Stim, you stand here a witness to man's ultimate triumph, the polymerization of human flesh.
Nebbleman is behind them, using a razor to cut his hair like Susan did to Daniel.
Sir, please try to hold still.
So I guess it worked?
Worked. Worked.
Argon laughs.
A watch works, Mr. Sim. A bureaucrat works. What transpired here cannot be measured by the word work.
His chest swells as if he were posing down for Mr. Universe.
What you see before you is the culmination of evolution, the realization of the one driving desire at the heart of all great human endeavors, the desire for immortality. The polymerization of human flesh is no mere molecular transmutation, no simple scientific procedure. It is nothing short of a miracle that marks the ascension of man from the finite to the infinite, from the transient to the everlasting.
His perfect white teeth high-beam the room. Poppy stares, adulation oozing from every pore.
Oh, icky.
Argon kisses her, hard. Look, I don't mean to rain on everyone's ascension here, but we got a little problem.
Speak.
Dr. Bright has escaped. Argon breathes deep, controlling his temper.
You let her reach those reporters outside the main gate, Mr. Sim.
His hand grabs around Sim's throat. Understood. Interior, main lab. Wearing one of the protective suits, Susan pushes through the part of the containment unit, heading for the elevator. Most of the crew is surrounded by the captain. The whole West Wing is just gone, Captain.
It's in the phone lines.
It's spreading to the underground pipes.
We gotta get out of here.
The captain notices Susan.
Hey, where are you going?
Thinking fast, she points to her crotch as though needing to go to the bathroom. The captain nods. Interior observatory. O'Brien is deflated, head cradled into the arm coil. His other arm is raised up against the perspex wall. He has turned his finger into a glass cutter, moving it around and around in a slow, deliberate circle. Interior Poppy's bedroom. Argon stands before a mirror wearing a new black suit like O'Brien's.
Excellent work, Dr. Nebbleman. You've outdone yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Poppy steps behind him, running her hands over his body.
Oh, icky. You know what latex does to me.
Someone knocks at the door.
Enter.
Sim does.
Dr. Argon, everything's starting to come apart here. You hired me to take care of these matters of security, and I am trying, but elements are making my job just impossible.
Have you found Dr. Bright?
No. The captain of the containment crew was closing down the main lab. He says the area has got to be evacuated.
He's probably right, sir. The building is probably going to collapse under its own weight.
And if we evacuate, what do you want to do with O'Brien?
It'll be better for us if he simply disappears. The gardener will know what to do.
Wait. Can I at least have his body?
Donate it to science. Perfect.
Interior conservatory. The glass cutter tracing of the circle completely lost its shape, his fingers squeaking against the plexiglass. The gardener leads Sim, Dobby, and Nebbleman towards the O'Brien's geranium.
Can I ask you something? Do you ever take that mask off?
The gardener shakes his head.
Doesn't it get hot?
The gardener nods. At the end of the path, they reach O'Brien's tank. O'Brien sleepily lifts his head.
Sorry, pal, it's checkout time. Moral of the story, next life, mind your own business.
The gardener begins to shut off the valves. The gauges drop to 0 as the gas opening at the top of the tank rasps and goes silent. Immediately, O'Brien knows he's going to suffocate. He screams and pounds the plexiglass. They all watch as his soft, rubbery fists mash uselessly against the walls of the tank.
Even a plastic man's got to breathe, eh, Doc?
Nebbleman is too entranced to reply. At the far end of the conservatory, the door swings open. Sim glances over his shoulder and sees a member of the containment crew striding towards them.
Yeah, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be looking for the woman.
We found her.
The voice is muffled by headgear.
What? You say you found her?
Body catches the scent of something fishy. He turns to the crew member. Behind Sim, O'Brien sucks in the thinning air. His punch is growing weaker. The crew member lunges at Sim, but Dobby is ready, seizing a hold of the small body while tearing off the helmet, revealing Susan Bright.
Susan!
Well, Dr. Bright. You're just in time.
O'Brien's eyes bulge when he sees her, but he knows it's too late. His hand pressed against the plexi, his eyes melt into silicone tears.
No!
Like a wild animal, she bites Dobby, twisting free just long enough to jump at Sim and snatch the gun from his belt. Sim grabs at the wrist and they fight for control until Susan manages to squeeze off a single shot that punches a hole in O'Brien's tank. The hole is tiny, but it's all Plastic Man needs. He dives at it, thinning to a pencil, driving himself through. He emerges from the other side like a genie freed from the lamp. Uh-oh. Afraid now, Sim twists Susan's arm around her back and yanks the gun free. Nebbleman cowers behind Dobby. The gardener slips away, hurrying for his spray can. O'Brien faces Sim, his eyes blazing with malice aforethought. Sim hides behind Susan, holding the gun to her, barely able to see over his shoulder.
Here we go again, eh, O'Brien? I got a gun. I got the girl. All you got is some rubber underwear.
He laughs, feeling a little better. O'Brien points a single finger that creeps slowly at Sim.
I've been thinking about you, Mr. Sim.
Sim watches as the tip shapes turn into a fishhook.
All the different ways I could kill you.
Oh, yeah?
He aims the gun at O'Brien.
Maybe you're ready to find out if that hide of yours is bulletproof.
The question is, are you?
Sim thumbs back the hammer.
Because once you pull the trigger, if that bullet doesn't kill me, we both know you're a dead man.
Sim's hand shakes.
I ain't afraid of no plastic man.
Boom. The bullet sinks into O'Brien's chest, pushing his flesh back with a shrieking stretch, projecting it out behind him impossibly until The bullet stops. O'Brien looks back at Sim, whose eyes fill with fear. Susan dives to the ground as the bullet comes rushing back and, with a resounding whip crack, hits Sim right in the chest. Sim sinks to the ground, dead. Dobby howls and rushes O'Brien, who turns his fists into sledgehammers. Nebbleman bolts, but Susan snatches a hold of him.
Do you know the best thing about having you as an assistant, Nigel?
She rings the lapel of his lab coat.
Was knowing that if you ever pissed me off, I could always kick your ass.
She winds up just as Nebbleman's eyes cross.
Oh.
He faints into a bruise-colored bush. She shakes her head. O'Brien pounds the sound of chirping birds into Dobby's skull as Susan sees the gardener rushing behind him.
Daniel!
But the spray can is already hissing, pumping out deadly clouds of red gas.
Not this time, pal.
O'Brien clasps his hands together and forms a giant bellows that sucks up all the gas.
Let's see how you like it.
He shoves the nozzle of bellows into the filter of his gas mask and squeezes. The dark glass eyes fill with smoke as the gardener thrashes around trying to get the mask off. He stumbles, flailing wildly, and smashes into the sea monkey geranium. The little creatures swarm all over him as he collapses to the ground. O'Brien turns just as Susan rushes into his arms.
You saved my life.
Did you think I could just leave you?
They hold each other tightly, feeling the volatile electrons charging the air, creating an intermolecular bond between them.
Susie,
You don't have to say anything, Daniel. I'm a scientist. I know what's happening. I recognize the classic symptoms. Dizziness, shortness of breath, sweating palms. I can feel my adrenals secreting, my parasympathetic nervous system quivering, the estradiol coursing through my entire body.
Her lips move closer to his.
And I know there's only one way to cure it.
She kisses him and almost melts the polymerized lips right off of his face. The kiss is so intense, it shakes the entire building around them. Exterior Argon Tower. The metal frame supporting the tower has finally been affected by the replicators. Two of the legs squash out, causing the other legs to bend. Interior conservatory. They break the kiss, realizing the building is actually shaking.
what the?
Oh shit! The meltdown. It spread to the tower.
We've got it. We've got to get to the nanobot.
It's too late. Argon injected it.
You mean he's polymerized like me?
She nods.
That means the nanobot is still inside him.
Yes.
What would happen if I threw him into the core?
The same thing, I suppose.
That's all O'Brien needs to hear. Interior Poppy's bedroom. What is happening beneath the red rubber sheets of Poppy's bed is beyond anything ever pictured in the Kama Sutra. Poppy screams as the earth moves again. Argon sticks his head out.
You feel that?
Did I? I've been waiting for that for years.
Not that.
The building shivers and leans again.
That. It's the fallout. We have to get out of here.
Exterior Argon Tower. The tower leans a few more degrees as outside the lab, bedlam erupts. The containment crew and security force scatter from the building like rats pouring from a sinking ship. Exterior main gate. Spencer grabs a hold of the fence, watching the tower lean.
We gotta get in there.
He notices that the fence is warm.
Hey, what's up with the fence?
He pulls back and it stretches like gum. Interior Argon's office. O'Brien and Susan are arguing in the office. The floor weirdly tilts under them.
Daniel, just forget Argon. Let's get out of here. We'll find another way to stop the waste.
We don't have time to argue, Susan.
He's dragging her towards the door to the roof.
I'm going to set you down outside. You have to get over to the reporters outside the gate. We have to warn people what's happening.
She doesn't like being dragged anywhere.
You're not going after Argon.
I have to.
Do the words hero fantasies mean anything to you? How about infantile dementia?
That hurts.
Maybe you're right. But so what? I'm going to beat the snot out of him.
She is about to continue the fight when the elevator opens and ends it. Argon and Poppy get out.
How apropos.
Ain't it?
The men begin circling each other.
As you can see, I'm a new man, just like you.
Oh no, you're not like me. In fact, I'm betting you're the same greedy, remorseless, egomaniacal bad guy you always were.
O'Brien pumps up a huge fist. His forearm goes slack as he begins swinging the fist like a medieval morning star.
It remains to be seen who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. History is written by the victor.
The only history I'm gonna write is your obituary.
He lunges, the fist arcing down as Argon awkwardly counters. The blow connects, snapping Argon's head back.
Icky!
Get him, Daniel! Knock his block off!
Poppy hisses at Susan as the two women now edge towards one another. O'Brien presses his attack, battering and bludgeoning Argon, every blow landing with a loud rubber smack that reverberates through Argon's teeth. Desperate, the villain flails back, long, ropey limbs trying to tie O'Brien up as his extending legs drive both men flying backwards, crashing through the enormous vista windows.
Daniel!
Exterior main gate. The reporters are lifting the fence and scrambling inside. Spencer hears the window explode and sees the black and red intertwining bodies, still locked in combat, plummeting, kicking, biting, commoning right towards the earth. Kaboing! The force of the fall blasts them apart, each rebounding into the air. O'Brien flipping, righting himself as he lands on his feet. Argon quickly recovers. Spencer does not.
That's not possible.
Interior Argon's office. The two women smell blood.
Okay, Barbie, let's get this over with.
Don't worry, Four Eyes.
From her bag, Poppy whips out a razor knife.
It's not going to take long.
Exterior grounds. O'Brien and Argon have at one another again. Spencer stands in the whitewash of his cameraman's light.
We are just outside Argon Labs, and I can, without fear of hyperbole, say that what is happening behind me is the most unbelievably fantastic thing the world has ever seen.
Argon is learning quickly, morphing his body the way O'Brien does.
Two men, if they are indeed really men, locked in mortal combat.
Pure Jack the King Kirby pugilistics.
One of them apparently the dangerous radical environmentalist authorities have been searching for. The other appears to be Icarus Argon, or at least Icarus Argon 15 years ago.
Fists flying, blasted bodies hurling through the air only to bounce right back.
There are times, singular fleeting moments, when a man glimpses an event which he knows is going to change the world. Although I do not fully understand what is happening here, I sense that this fight is somehow about the future of the planet.
Argon suddenly realizes that O'Brien is leading the battle closer and closer to the main lab.
I know what you're doing.
You mean besides kicking your ass?
You think you can use me to stop the meltdown.
O'Brien's face reveals nothing.
It's not going to happen.
His arms shoot up onto the helicopter pad, but O'Brien snags a hold of him.
Not so fast, Icky. I promised you an ass beating, and I'm just getting started.
Boom! Fist imprinted in the middle of Argon's face. Interior Argon's office. Poppy slashes viciously at Susan, driving her back into a corner where she ducks behind a statue of Icarus and shoves, tipping it over onto Poppy, who falls screaming back as the stone smashes to the ground. Susan grabs one of the broken arms and backhands Poppy before she gets to her feet. Susan is about to finish her off when the building tilts again, throwing her, crashing over the desk. Exterior grounds. The tower squeaks again, legs bending, giving way, throwing the crowd into a panic. If O'Brien even notices, we can't tell. His attack is an unrelenting fury, fists like jackhammers, like wrecking balls and ballistic missiles. Bomb after bomb rearranges Argon's face, his body growing soft and supple, his knees turning to syrup as O'Brien winds up the haymaker.
Well, Argon, according to this, makes me the good guy, don't it?
Kaboom! Lights out. Argon hits the ground with a web smack. Interior Argon's office. Poppy is up first, delivering a stiletto-heeled kick to Susan's face, knocking her out. The building trembles again as Poppy forgets Susan and hurries off to the roof door. Exterior grounds. The crowd has burst apart, running from the building where O'Brien shoulders Argon and heads for the main lab floor. Interior roof stairwell. Poppy pushes outside the roof. The helicopter is shifted towards the tilted edge. She climbs into the pilot seat. Interior lab stairwell. O'Brien catches the polymerized stairs and giant steps. He's heading for Susan's lab when Argon's eyes pop open. Interior Argon's office. Susan wakes up as the building continues to groan. She goes to the elevator, but it no longer works. Then she sees the elevator or the open roof door. Interior hall. Argon attacks with snake-like speed, whip wrapping both arms like twin boa constrictors around O'Brien's neck. A small gack spits out of O'Brien as he feels his windpipe pinch. Exterior roof. The helicopter blades begin to chop as Susan flings open the roof door. Interior hall. O'Brien throws himself back against the wall, trying to smash Argon off of him, but everything is polymerized. They bounce and roll into a smaller lab, and Argon wrapped around O'Brien like a creeping ivy vine. O'Brien thrashes through the door, slamming into stainless steel scientific equipment, only to bounce off of them like they were Nerf toys. Desperate, he hurls them both at a large window, but the polymerized glass balloons out, both bodies visible inside the bulging bubble that snaps back, slinging them across the lab and into the hall. Exterior roof. Susan tries to climb into the helicopter when the tower tilts more violently than ever. The helicopter slides out, hooking its landing gear on the guarding rail, flipping out of control, killing the engine. Thrown free, Susan slides towards the same edge where the helicopter dangles precariously. Below them, the roof of the main lab. Interior main lab. O'Brien falls to his feet. He is ready to give up when he sees something. His face is red as his suit. His breath a tiny rasp. He begins to crawl.
Die! Die, damn you! Why don't you just die?
The world spins and goes spotty as he collapses. But his hands keep moving, cartoon fingers groping down the hall towards a tank of liquid nitrogen still laying near the broken fire extinguisher. The hands take a hold of it.
Oh no. Oh no.
And come back rushing like the cavalry. Argon screams as the nitrogen sprays out, soaking his arms, freezing them solid. A little frosted, O'Brien slips his head free while Argon tries to crack apart his arms. He looks up and sees O'Brien aiming the nitrogen again.
No. O'Brien, don't, please.
O'Brien lets him have it, full frosting blast. He grabs hold of him with two huge steps and bursts into Susan's office. Interior Susan's lab. The room pulses with a seething sense of sickness as everything turns to a gray slime like a rotting banana turning brown. Fluorescent lights drip like stalactites from a drooping drop ceiling. Equipment hangs like swamp moss or sits in puddles like melting chocolate. The center of the room is a crater, the floor sagging limply like a wet napkin. At the bottom of the crater where the assembler tank used to be is a pond of pale glowing goo. Argon cracks his jaw loose. They stand at the edge of the crater.
Please, O'Brien, don't do this to me. I'll give you anything you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish what you started.
O'Brien sees the finger slither out like a black tentacle around his leg. O'Brien slips free and hurls Argon out over the crater. Argon screams as his finger reaches for the soft pipes above the drop ceiling. The finger finds a hold just before Argon hits the white pool. He bounces, dangling above it.
You can't do this. You owe me, O'Brien. I made you plastic. I made you.
That's right. And making me was the biggest mistake you ever made.
O'Brien's hand sears at a shaping like a huge pair of scissors. Argon screams as the scissors clip through the finger strand, dropping Argon into a pond of moon milk. Almost immediately, there is a reaction. The pool sizzles and began to swell into a single volcanic bubble. O'Brien whirls and runs. Exterior roof. Susan carefully slides to the edge, reaching out to help Poppy.
Grab my hand!
Interior conservatory. The building is beginning to shake as Nebbleman wakes up. Interior lab. The bubble continues to swell. Interior hall. O'Brien races through the rubbery hall. Exterior roof. Poppy is struggling to get out of the safety harness when, in the main lab, the bubble bursts. Interior hall. The force of the blast launches O'Brien into the air and he recoils, tucking himself into a ball, super bouncing down the hall. Exterior roof. The building shivers from the explosion and the helicopter pitches back, swinging out from Susan, who loses her balance and slips. Interior Susan's lab. The chain reaction spreads from the crater as molecules shift, rebounding, changing into an ionic solid, like a brown glass that is cooled too quickly, shivering with the sound of cracking ice flows. Exterior roof. The tower tips again, ready to fall at any moment. Susan clings to the rail while inside the helicopter, Poppy is no longer struggling. She is staring at the enormous full moon above her.
Icky?
Exterior main lab. O'Brien dives from the lab as part of it collapses into a shower of crashing glass. Exterior roof. The rail gives out and the helicopter falls. It seems for a moment to drift like snow as Poppy reaches at the moon.
Plastic means forever.
It hits the roof and shatters as though it were made of sheet candy. Susan is thrown over the edge, dangling from the rail as the helicopter shatters through the building on an ear-bleeding crash before its metal carcass bursts into flames. As Susan clings to the rail, she looks up and sees Nebbleman. He stares at her through his broken glasses.
This is all your fault, Susan.
He bends towards her in clutching fingers. Exterior grounds. O'Brien is searching everywhere for Susan.
Susan! Susan!
Exterior roof. Nebbleman is peeling up her fingers when the tower begins to fall. With a final metal shriek, the legs give out completely. Still holding on, Susan falls with the tower. Nebbleman's eyes bulge as he is thrown over the railing and into a fiery abyss. O'Brien looks up at the tower arcs down and sees Susan clinging, dangling, about to be buried beneath it.
No!
A red rubber rocket sears out across the night sky. Susan's grip fails and she drops onto O'Brien, who has flattened himself into a huge loose chute. She stretches out away the tower as it collapses into a fiery oblivion, falling lightly into a soft waiting arms of...
My hero.
They kiss. We rise above them, reaching up for the moon with all of its luminous glory, watching as it morphs into a blazing sun. We pan down to a new day. Exterior city street. O'Brien is carrying a brown bag filled with groceries. Susan is walking beside him. She suddenly starts laughing.
God, when we were in that store, all I could think about was the one time we were in school and you attacked that little kid who wanted some cereal. Do you remember that?
I remember I was trying to help.
God, what a fight that was.
We were different people then.
Do you suppose that was our problem? We met before our time. I think that happens a lot. People, events, planets, all circling each other, waiting for that moment when everything just clicks into place.
O'Brien is no longer listening to her, staring at something like an attack dog.
That moment of synchronicity when everything seems to work out just the way it should.
Walking straight towards them is the Litterbug.
I suppose if I were a god, it would be those moments that would make me a believer in him or her.
Just like he did before, the Litterbug gulps from a styrofoam cup.
Daniel, what is it?
She sees what he's staring at just as the Litterbug crumples the cup and pitches it into the bushes.
Oh, no.
The Litterbug continues towards them.
Daniel, please, don't. Not today. It's such a nice day.
She watches him, bracing for the attack, jaw working, hackles rising, fists clenching.
Oh, shit.
The Litterbug reaches them, shoves his way past, and O'Brien lets him go. He smiles.
You're right. It is a nice day.
He walks over and picks the cup up himself.
I can throw it out. No big deal.
She can't believe it. His arm shoots out and a moment later whips back. The cup is gone. She smiles and wraps his arms around her.
Things do change.
I guess they do.
They stroll on and we glide back in the direction that his arm shot, where we see the Litterbug is wedged headfirst into a wire mesh trash can, kicking like an inverted cockroach, the styrofoam cup stuffed into his mouth. And we close on the sign, "Keep litter in its place." Fade out. The end. And that, oddly, was Plastic Man. We'll see y'all at the next one.